Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully arriving on Earth and meeting the system activation conditions. The Unlimited Combat Power Improvement System is initializing 1%, 10%, 50%, 99%. Ding! System successfully activated. Host, Lin Xuan. Age, 25. Height, 185 centimeters. Weight, 75 kilograms. Combat Power Index, 15,000 points. System Level, 1. Passive Ability, +1 Combat Power/Second. 25 years. A whole 25 years. Lin Xuan's voice trembled with a mix of disbelief and excitement. Who could understand what I've endured all these years? Standing on the deck of the universe ship that had just landed, Lin Xuan couldn't hold back his emotions. As a time traveler, he journeyed to the Dragon Ball universe and found himself reborn as a scion infant destined to invade alien planets. It was surreal, yet undeniable. The memories were vivid. His time in the breeding pods, the realization that he'd been reincarnated in this extraordinary world, and the thought of becoming a powerful figure in the future. Even starting with a mere combat power of 50 points, he had felt optimistic. After all, it was still 48 points higher than Kakarote's. For perspective, a shotgun-wielding farmer only had a combat power of 5 points. Back then, Lin Xuan had imagined countless possibilities. Worst-case scenario, he could always find a remote planet, dominate as an unchallenged ruler, and live out a comfortable life with a harem of wives. Best-case scenario? He'd rise to rival the strongest beings in the universe. But there was one catch: his golden finger, the Infinite Combat Power Improvement System, needed Earth to activate. At the tender age of 2, after undergoing the Scion family's memory inheritance, Lin Xuan was sent to invade a low-level planet. This was standard protocol for lower-class warriors with combat power under 100. Initially, he had no objections. Leaving planet Vegeta meant freedom, and the universe was vast enough to escape notice. Little did he know that planet Vegeta would be annihilated by Frieza, under Beerus's indirect orders, just a few years later. Any notion of returning or saving anyone was obliterated. He didn't even know his parents beyond their names, Seraph and Thomas, both low-level Scion warriors who had spent their lives fighting on distant planets. Lin Xuan's only goal was survival and reaching Earth. Activating the system was his ticket to power and freedom. However, his journey took a grim turn. Upon reaching his designated invasion target, planet V3114, he discovered it had been devastated by meteorite impacts, plunging into an ice age. The planet's species were nearly extinct, its surface covered in ash and freezing winds. Survival became a daily battle. His aging, outdated universe ship was damaged during landing, leaving him stranded. Over 2 decades, Lin Xuan scraped by on minimal resources, relying on his Scion resilience and the survival skills he honed through constant struggle. Hope came 3 months ago when a Frieza army reconnaissance ship arrived, presumably checking on the planet's status. The soldier aboard had a combat power of 5,000, strong, but not strong enough. Lin Xuan struck from the shadows, killing him in one decisive blow. The victory rewarded him with fresh supplies and a modern, functional universe ship. Without hesitation, Lin Xuan abandoned the desolate planet, set course for Earth, and spent 3 months traversing the stars. Finally, he was here. The Earth stretched out before him, and with it came the activation of the system he had waited 25 long years to unlock. "This is it," he whispered, clenching his fists. "My path to greatness begins now." As the system interface gleamed before his eyes, Lin Xuan felt an overwhelming surge of determination. His strength would grow boundlessly. He would rise above gods and destroyers. The universe won't know what hit it. Excited, happy. Emotions kept coming up. Lin Xuan recalled the past more than 20 years, and tears almost came to his eyes. If he hadn't been a time traveler, if he hadn't been working hard to restrain himself, and working hard to hope that there might be a miracle tomorrow, he will never wait until this day. Anyone else would probably go crazy. Sort out your emotions. Lin Xuan finally calmed down and then fully focused on the system. Infinite Combat Power Improvement System. At this moment, it is truly understood what the function of this system is. After 25 years, today, all the resentment and negative psychology have finally been let out in one breath. Combat strength +1. Combat strength +1. Combat strength +1. Combat power +1 per second. Lin Xuan suddenly felt refreshed as he watched the prompts for combat power +1 constantly appear on the autohook item. Although with his combat power of 15,000 points, even if it increases a little every second, there is no special feeling. But if he continues to accumulate this, his strength will improve by leaps and bounds within a short time. The combat power increases by 1 point per second. 1 minute is a 60-point increase in combat power. 1 hour, that's 3,600 combat power points. This means that it only takes a little over 4 hours to double your own combat power of 15,000 points to 30,000 points. It's scary to think about it. Fortunately, this is his golden finger, not the enemy's. If it's an enemy, what can he do to stop him? Based on this calculation, his combat power can be increased by 86,400 points in one day. After 25 years of hard training, I have not been able to reach 1/6 of this value. Counting 30 days in a month, that's 2,592,000 points. In 12 months of the year, combat power increased by more than 30 million points. Lin Xuan can do nothing, and in 3 years, he can become a universe emperor with a combat power of over 100 million. What is the ultimate fighting power of Universe Emperor Frieza? It's just 120 million points. If you just stay like this for 4 years, you can surpass it. The most important thing is that this is still a level 1 system function. The system can be upgraded. After level 2, the combat power that can be increased per second will be increased to 10 points. This is level 2, but what about level 3? What about level 4? Or even higher? At this moment, for him in the past, those unattainable existences and those areas that could not be easily reached now seem to be within his reach. I really have the system in hand, and I have the world. But how to improve the level? I was confused because the system didn't prompt me, and I didn't know what conditions were required. There is no way but to wait and see how to trigger it. I don't think about it anymore. The more I think about it, the more confused I become. I always feel like I have missed something. Have I lived in vain for so many years? No, absolutely not. If I had lived in vain, how would I be where I am now? Lin Xuan suddenly had the urge to laugh or cry. Of course, I don't really think that I am a noob or a waste. Over the years, it's not that he hasn't cultivated, nor has he always been lying down. It's not that he doesn't want to leave the planet, but he has no choice. Even if I try to practice teleportation, I still don't know anything about it. Regarding the cultivation and understanding of Qi, it still took 2 or 3 years to successfully cultivate. On such a planet, he is either fighting for survival or on the way to becoming stronger. Otherwise, he will be greeted by death. So no matter what happens in the future, I will never forget these 20 years of experience, day and night. After all, Lin Xuan felt that even though his talent was limited and his starting strength was not strong, he managed to reach 15,000 points. He was very proud. At least he doesn't rely on anything. He grows by himself under limited conditions and circumstances. Besides, in this era, Frieza hasn't died yet, and Vegeta may not even have arrived on Earth yet. His strength is far from comparable to that of the protagonist Son Goku at this stage. Comparing the protagonist to someone else is not enough to prove that he is not wasting his time. It's just that some things can't be achieved just by thinking about it. To gain strength, you have to take it one step at a time and cultivate yourself steadily, rather than being reckless and constantly improving. Lin Xuan is a time traveler, but he is not a very ambitious person. It's natural to think about it. Who doesn't want to have a combat power of over 100 million, a trillion, or even become a Super Saiyan casually and then a Super Saiyan God casually? But these are unrealistic. All in all, the improvement of strength is directly related to the things experienced. There is a reason why the strength of the Z warriors in the original work has increased dramatically after the era of the big universe, and they are not just random improvements. Although it's like cheating, at least there are adventures and help. 25 years later, compared with the increase in combat power of system function rewards, it is naturally incomparable. Lin Chuan had an idea in his mind. That is, he must stabilize his mind and not be blinded by the continuous improvement of his strength. Of course, you still have to be arrogant. In his past life and this life, he was originally a heroic and bohemian person. After withdrawing his thoughts, Lin Chuan raised his eyes and shut down the system of the universe ship. Now that we have arrived on Earth, there is no need for this universe ship. After suffering for so many years, you finally got to Earth and activated the system. So why don't you just take a break? Delicious food, delicious drinks, and fun things. If he didn't comfort himself for 10 days and a half, he would still be sorry for the hardships he had endured for the past 25 years. The next second, an arrogant belief emerged. I opened the hatch of the universe ship, but there was still no movement. It seems that at some point the hatch got stuck and could not be opened under the control of the spacecraft system. After several attempts, it still didn't work. Lin Chuan didn't want to think about anything else and kicked open the door panel of the universe ship with a domineering kick. Damn it, they have already reached the Earth, and this universe ship is still trying to play tricks on me. As the cabin door was kicked open, a different air hit us. Although there was no feeling of spring breeze blowing on his face, the refreshing cool breeze made Lin Chuan feel even more comfortable. This is a feeling I have never experienced in my life. Standing up, leaving the small space of the universe ship, and walking out of the crater created by the universe ship, Lin Chuan truly stood on this piece of land. This is a mountain valley with lush forests and grass, and numerous mountains and rivers. Full of the flavor of life, it is so intoxicating. Although there is no breath around, you can feel the breath of various animals from a distance. As long as it has a certain intensity, it can be checked. This is the benefit of practicing qi. For me, this is a new beginning. From this moment on, the sea is really vast. With emotion in his heart, Lin Chuan narrowed his eyes, thought, and slowly floated into the sky. Wukong Jutsu. This is the Earth. Although it is somewhat different, it is still the Earth. Lin Chuan was quite emotional as he uttered these words. After all, he was an Earthling in his previous life, and became a scion after traveling through time in this life, and later stayed on that doomsday planet for 25 years. However, the Earth is still the homeland deeply rooted in his beliefs. As the saying goes, first impression comes first. Although they are two different worlds on Earth, they will be more or less similar. Welcome the world with open hands and integrate into the Earth of this world. For him, the future is smooth. After breathing enough fresh air, Lin Chuan flew between mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas. Not only did I see the scenery of this world, but I also saw the creatures of this world and the Earth. There are some that he is familiar with, some that he is not familiar with, and there are even animals that have long been extinct on the Earth in previous lives, such as various dinosaurs, saber-toothed tigers, and other ancient animals. It wasn't until he galloped hundreds of miles on the sea, stirring up thousands of waves, that Lin Chuan suddenly stopped venting his madness. For no other reason than that, the combat power detector carried on his right eye sent out an alarm. This is also the inventory in the universe ship that robbed the advanced soldiers of Frieza's army 3 months ago. Don't be afraid of being discovered, because even though this thing has the interstellar communication function, it also has huge flaws. The first one is that there is no identity authentication function. You cannot share channels unless you log in to your personal registration account. So even if you use someone else's combat power detector, as long as you don't log in, others won't notice you, let alone know who you are, so anyone can use it as long as they carry it. Second, the universe is so big, a galaxy is extremely huge, and as long as it is far enough apart, it will be directly ignored. There are countless combat power detectors within the range. How could they pay attention to such a mere one? The universe ship is a similar example. Although they are numbered, in fact, as long as they are not labeled as objects of focus, they will not receive special attention. Lin Chuan had made detailed guesses and analyses on this point back then. Unless you take the initiative to contact me, you will not be found. When we first arrived at the planet V3114, although the universe ship was damaged and unable to navigate the universe, the internal communication function still maintained for 10 years before it was overwhelmed and damaged, plus the combat power detector. He had received the news of planet Vegeta's destruction. At that time, he had been worried for a long time whether Frieza's army would come to kill him to eliminate future troubles, so he did not dare to take the initiative to contact him for fear of exposing his whereabouts. This worry lasted for a full year, and then it subsided. From this, Lin Xuan also roughly understood that although Frieza's army wiped out the Scions, they would also send high-level troops to kill the Scions outside, but as long as they survived enough, they could escape the genocide. After all, how many Scion babies were sent abroad in the original novel? I'm afraid the number is not 100,000 million, but it is definitely more than 10,000. Afterwards, there were only a few surviving Scions. Maybe there are still in the universe, but definitely not more than 2 hands. Therefore, what is certain is that a Scion like him will either die in a harsh environment, or be accidentally killed by a hidden master or extremely lethal weapon on the planet, or else he will successfully conquer the planet reported it, and was discovered by Frieza's legion and killed. The only ones allowed to survive by Frieza were Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz. Let's talk about Broly, Paragus, and Vegeta's younger brother Tarbell, who only appeared in the later stages of the original work. It was just that they were just lingering and living in a low profile, so they were never discovered and killed. Otherwise, Broly will be on stage early, and Tarbell will die. Lin Xuan didn't think that Frieza would be so kind as to keep a Prince Vegeta as a dog and a useless little prince to play with. 2,800 kilometers to the southwest. How many people with more than 1,000 combat points are fighting against each other? Combat strength 416, combat strength 1330, combat strength 1307, combat strength 1500. Wait a minute, 1307 dropped to 1 point? 1500 dropped to 1345 points. Hi, could it be that? As familiar data appeared in the combat power detector, Lin Xuan was stunned for a moment. I was so excited before that I forgot to use Qi to sense the situation on the entire Earth, so as to judge what stage the plot has developed. In fact, Lin Xuan can roughly guess it, because according to the time when planet Vegeta exploded, until today, it should be the era when the big universe is about to begin. He is 25 years old this year, 2 years older than Son Goku, which means that Son Goku is now 23 years old. 23 years old. Isn't this a twist of fate? Coupled with the extension of the plot, Lin Xuan immediately thought, who are these fighting auras? Son Goku, Piccolo, Son Gohan, and the important figure who opened a new era, Raditz. Good guy, this is a good show for me, and it seems to be almost over. Lin Xuan glared and rolled his eyes. Lin Xuan couldn't let go of such a good opportunity. I once thought about what I would do and how I would develop after coming to Earth. After 25 years, although those fantasies have all come to nothing, but now I have an opportunity to let the Z warriors on Earth know about his existence. Accept his existence. When Lin Xuan got excited, he immediately became furious and rushed towards his destination without hesitation. The speed is so fast that it reaches nearly 30,000 meters per second, which is 100 times the speed of sound. The sound barrier continued to explode, as if it was about to shatter the void. For him, Raditz is a stepping stone in the Z warrior circle. How can you just let it go? Even though he is also a Scion, he is him. Taking this opportunity to save Son Goku not only changes the plot, but also integrates into it. Not to mention having a good relationship with the Z warriors, let's just say that he has come to the Earth, and in this era, many people and things can be cut off. To intercept some people, you need an absolutely perfect identity. Just like the heroine Bulma, how can she let her go? How can she not stop her? Lin Xuan is a realistic person. Before time travel, he had imagined that after time travel, now he has really come to the Dragon Ball world, and there are so many opportunities. Strength must be obtained, and women are also indispensable. If it were Lin Xuan 3 months ago, he really didn't have any hope for the future. But God loves to joke so much. He sent that Frieza army soldier 3 months ago, thus making him successful. As for Vegeta, he can only say that he is sorry. Wrong. This real world, now that he is here, can no longer be calculated according to the original work. His life, what he wants to do, why should he care about others? 100 times the speed of sound, reaching a speed of more than 30,000 meters per second. In just 1.5 minutes, Lin Xuan had crossed thousands of kilometers and arrived at his destination. At this moment, from landing on the Earth to now, Lin Xuan's combat power level has reached 16,680 points. From 15,000 points to the current 16,680 points, it has increased by 1,680 points, and 1,680 seconds have passed, which is a full 28 minutes. In such a short period of time, even if his strength improved bit by bit, the continuous increase accumulated in such a short period of time made Lin Xuan feel extremely satisfied physically and mentally. There was no specific feeling when activating the system, but now, Lin Xuan has truly experienced the rapid improvement in strength. Even though it seems that there is only an improvement of 1680 points, not even 2,000 points, warriors of his level can already distinguish between high and low easily. At least now Lin Xuan can be sure that he can completely defeat himself before arriving on Earth, and it is extremely easy. At the same time, above the ground, originally, the war situation was very unstable. The advantage that was finally created was reversed for the first time because of Son Goku's careless kindness. The opportunity was created for the second time, but it was missed because of concern for Sun Wuhan. Now for the third time, it is unimaginable that the 4-year-old Sun Wuhan burst out with unparalleled fighting power and severely injured Raditz with one blow. Now, it is time to reverse the situation again. However, another person wearing the same clothes as Raditz suddenly appeared in the sky. This person appeared so domineeringly and suddenly. His speed was so fast that it shook the void and was extremely terrifying. Now standing in the void, exuding an extremely terrifying aura. It's much scarier than Raditz. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Kakarot, you are going to be finished. It seems I'm not the only one who came to Earth. Your Earth has been spotted by Frieza's army for a long time. Don't say I didn't warn you. This person's combat power should be far superior to mine, and you will all die. Raditz was held by Son Goku from behind, and because he had received a fatal headbutt from Son Gohan before, he was unable to break free in a short period of time. Originally, he was still afraid because the guy named Piccolo was condensing the skills that could kill him. Once he succeeds, he will die on Earth. It is better to come by chance than to come well. Even if they don't know each other's identity and purpose, they are both Frieza's army combat uniforms, indicating that they both belong to the army. Raditz would not know. He is too self-righteous and has too rich imagination. Even if they are also wearing Frieza's army combat uniform, who can guarantee that only Frieza's army will wear it? At this time, Son Goku couldn't hold on any longer. He had no choice but to put aside everything and shouted to Piccolo desperately, "Hurry up, Piccolo, I can't hold on anymore." No matter whether the new guy is a friend or an enemy, you can only think about other things if you kill me, the eldest brother first. Speaking of this, Son Goku also vomited blood because of his injuries. Son Goku is very innocent and has simple ideas, but I have to say that he can make decisions at every critical moment. When he did this, Raditz's newly born sense of luck was defeated again, and he immediately panicked. "Stop joking, Kakarot. Are you going to die with me? Damn it, even if you want to die, don't delay. Keep me on your back. Haven't you seen the situation clearly yet? Your Earth is over." Hey, you are finally scared. That's right, I just want to die with you. There is no brotherly feeling. Son Goku doesn't care about anything else now. This point has been established since Raditz touched Sun Wuhan. If Sun Wuhan is not moved, Son Goku still thinks that he can persuade this so-called elder brother to put down the butcher knife. What are you waiting for, Piccolo? He gritted his teeth and felt Raditz's strength getting stronger and stronger. Son Goku had already exceeded his own limit. After all, with his current strength, he is far behind Raditz. Even in his heyday, it would be difficult to lock Raditz. He was anxious and urging, but he didn't know that Piccolo on the other side was feeling very uncomfortable at this time. Son Goku is naive and simple. How would he know how Piccolo is feeling now? The energy that suddenly appeared out of the sky was like a planet pressing down on him, making him unable to move. The chi in the body is inherently unstable, even if it gathers beyond the limit with the help of the demonic light-killing cannon. In this case, it is directly disrupted. Even if the moves remain intact, The level of combat power has exceeded its original limit. However, he was just shocked and couldn't move. Cold sweat broke out all over his body, and Piccolo gritted his teeth. Such a good opportunity can only be missed. He had a lot of resentment. If Son Goku had not released his hold on Raditz's tail, Raditz would have died. The situation will not become like this. Beside, the timid Sun Wuhan was trembling and crying. Under such circumstances, Piccolo became even more irritable. Breathing heavier and heavier, he watched the man in the air gradually fall and finally reached the ground. The direct look in his eyes almost made him lose his mind. Too scary. The combat effectiveness has exceeded the previous critical value and reached 1480 points. This amazing move not only maximizes one's own strength to the limit, but also makes the move lethal enough to kill the enemy beyond the level. The words of the evaluation said. Lin Xuan narrowed his eyes and was a little interested in trying Piccolo's ultimate move, Demon Penetrating Light Killing Cannon. This ultimate move that first showed its brilliance in the first chapter of Universe. How amazing was it when you saw it? It can be said that in fact, the early IQs of the Z Warriors were all outstanding. Various moves emerge endlessly, but in the end, they were all submerged in the tide of history. The early Z Warriors each had their own characteristics by virtue of their different methods. Later, the strength could not keep up, and the result was a development route dominated by strength. As long as the strength is enough, moves and so on will be slowly put aside. Son Goku is either a Kaioken or a Kame-style Qigong wave. Naturally, there are many Kame Senryu fighting methods, but they are all the same. The same goes for everyone else. Vegeta, Son Gohan, Piccolo, everyone will not innovate easily. This did not change slightly for the two little ones until the beginning of the Majin Buu chapter. After the advent of the Super Era, especially Son Goku and Vegeta, they began to pay attention to changes in moves, choosing to accept new things, thereby breaking through to a new realm. You are who? Piccolo was sweating profusely after finally saying such a sentence. It should be said that Piccolo in this era is still very discerning. If you feel that you are not easily manipulated by the other party, you will be very tough and domineering. But if the opponent is strong enough to crush him, then he will be smart enough to retreat in order to advance. Before answering this question, how about you let me take over your move first? Lin Xuan said. As soon as these words came out, the three people present were shocked. No, it should be four people. Even Sun Wuhan understood it, staring with two round eyes, looking silly and cute. After a few seconds of silence, before Piccolo and Son Goku had time to speak, Raditz, who was chained by Son Goku, seized the opportunity, broke free from the restraints, and regained control. Damn cockroach, you calculated against me, my dear brother, and next I will let you know how stupid you are. Raditz escaped from danger and did not stay where he was in the next second. Instead, he came to Lin Xuan's side as if he had grasped a life-saving straw. He subconsciously regarded Lin Xuan as his companion. Due to a series of accidents before, he was almost killed twice, which made him much more vigilant. He didn't directly launch a fatal counterattack against Son Goku. To be honest, in Lin Xuan's opinion, he was really stupid. If it were him, he would definitely take this opportunity to fight back directly. You are already risking your life, but you still act like a housewife? With 1,500 combat power points, you can only achieve the level of a few hundred combat power points. I am a member of the Scion Team No. B-119 of King Frieza's First Legion. The leader is Vegeta. My name is Raditz. As Raditz revealed his identity, Lin Xuan looked at him sideways. There was absolute intimidation in that look. For a moment, Raditz, who was about to please, stopped talking and stayed in place obediently. For Raditz, he was completely at the bottom of Frieza's army. Even if he didn't know how powerful the person in front of him was or what his identity was, he knew that they were definitely better than him. Obviously, it can be seen from the model of the suit Lin Xuan is wearing that he is at least one level higher than him. Judging from the momentum they released, their combat power exceeded at least 2,000 points. As for using combat power detectors to detect, this is disrespectful to others. No matter how stupid he is, Raditz knows that it is very impolite to probe someone's background in the current situation. Once he makes the other person unhappy, he becomes the other person's punching bag. To be honest, as a scion, you obviously have a combat power of 1,500 points, but you were beaten into such a miserable state by two people with less than 1,000 combat points. It's really sad. He didn't pay much attention to Lottie. Now, Lin Xuan uses his own perspective to criticize the current situation. Tell Raditz what a waste he is. Regarding such a comment, Raditz blushed and felt angry for a moment, but he couldn't bear to express it directly. He could only retort in a low voice. That's entirely because these Earthlings are playing tricks, and they have mastered a method to control their combat power. Otherwise, how could I have been taken advantage of by them again and again? And that kid? Before he finished speaking, Lin Xuan turned around silently and looked at Raditz carefully. This move made Raditz take a deep breath. As Lin Xuan exerted a trace of aura, the combat power detector he wore in front of his eyes also changed digitally. There was no prompt at first, but now a digital prompt appears because of the alarm. The opponent's combat power climbed from 1,000 points to thousands of points in one breath. Combat power, 5,000 points. Raditz was horrified, and immediately became even more groveling. It was determined that this person's status was far above him, at least comparable to that of senior warriors. He originally wanted to retort, but what does his 1,500 points of combat power mean in front of others? Even Nappa, who has 4,000 combat power points, is far from being a match for this person. Unless it's a prince. I'm just talking so much to cover up my incompetence. His eyes narrowed, and his breath became heavy for a moment. Lin Xuan directly put pressure on Raditz, seemingly as a superior scolding his subordinates. Under this situation, Son Goku, Piccolo, and Son Gohan on the other side seem to have become heir. However, Son Goku and Piccolo, who have experienced many battles and are experienced, know that this is their last chance. No matter whether the opponent is friend or foe, or whether he is the same kind as Raditz, to protect the Earth, he must win by surprise. From the exchange of eyes, Son Goku and Piccolo seem to have made up their minds. At this moment, the two of them took action at the same time. Piccolo's magic-piercing light-killing cannon went straight towards Lin Xuan, directly attacking the blind spot in his back. Son Goku risked everything and unleashed the final wave of turtle-style Qigong. Under such a situation, Raditz, who was originally scared and had a straight face, was startled and reacted immediately. You really don't know how to live or die. Having said that, without waiting for Lin Xuan to react or speak, he instinctively struck backhand with an explosive wave that hit Son Goku's turtle-style Qigong wave hard. Where is Lin Xuan? He turned around with a smile on his face and held Piccolo's demonic light-killing cannon in his palm. A sneak attack on him? Doesn't exist. The difference in strength is too big. This ultimate move that can penetrate everything in the world originally had the power to kill Raditz instantly, but in Lin Xuan's hands, it was like a plaything. If it were Lin Xuan, whose combat power had not exceeded 10,000 a few years ago, he might not be so direct. But now the combat power is as high as nearly 17,000 points. Even if he only has 5,000 combat power points, this move cannot hurt him. Moreover, his physical strength is very excellent, even far superior to that of soldiers of the same level. These years of training on that planet are not in vain, and the combat power is increasing every second. Combat strength is the embodiment of comprehensive strength, including the synthesis of all aspects of body functions. Therefore, with the current improvement in combat power, Lin Xuan's body is getting stronger every moment, and the progress is very slow, but this can be obtained without practicing on his own. Seeing his ultimate move blocked by the opponent with one hand, Piccolo's heart became even more horrified. It is unimaginable that after reaching such an attack that exceeds the limit of one's own cognition, what kind of courage does the other party have to dare to follow it so directly? Is the gap really that big? Damn it! What have I been doing all these years? Piccolo cursed in his heart. Over the years, his vision has limited his growth. He thought that he was invincible, and that as long as he defeated Son Goku, he would be number one in the world. I have never thought that the world outside this world is so vast and vast. Any intruder who appears randomly is an existence that they cannot resist despite their best efforts. This is the case now, but what about in the future? Behind these people represent an extremely huge force, the so-called Frieza Legion, a seemingly unexpected sneak attack. The sand and dust brought by the energy collision explosion are also accompanied by billowing heat waves and fire. Generally speaking, it is really impossible to escape unscathed, but for people who have reached a certain level of strength, it is not worth mentioning. At this time, Lin Chuan stood at the center of the explosion and couldn't help coughing. To quote Raditz's famous saying, that is, useless attacks can only raise some dust. When the aftermath of the explosion completely dissipated, the smoke and dust also disappeared with the wind. Under the gaze of Piccolo and Son Goku, their last hopes were wiped out. Not only did it fail, but it didn't even harm the opponent's hair. Especially Lin Chuan. He caught the demon Guangguang killing cannon with one hand, and finally crushed it, which is enough to show how big the gap in strength is. Even Raditz, who had been injured before, was able to ensure his safety during the explosion. Lost, but damn. Son Goku gasped and finally fell to the ground, with big characters appearing on his whole body. He has tried his best. The last desperate move consumed all his strength, so now he can't even stand. He wanted to fight again and was unwilling to admit defeat, but the reality was so cruel. Piccolo, on the other side, is in a similar situation to Son Goku. He had already reached his limit, and what he had just hit was all he had. Now that the situation is like this, he seems to have fallen into an abyss. Action. Failure. I didn't expect that I, Piccolo Daimao, would one day become a frog in the well. It's really ridiculous. Earth is finished. Having the courage to face death is a mental breakthrough that is actually good for both Piccolo and Son Goku. Lin Chuan didn't wait for anything to say or do. Raditz was one step ahead because he had blocked his special move, and he was so excited that he started to show off his power. It was obviously the absolute advantage that made him drift again. Hehehehe. Kakarot, my stupid brother. I have told you long ago that your end has come. Originally, you don't have to die, because as long as you join us, you will be a member of Frieza's Legion. Now that you have given up this great opportunity, you have also brought absolute disaster to the Earth. Raditz said as he approached Son Goku. That arrogant posture made people feel like the god of death was knocking on the door. Son Goku was powerless to refute, Piccolo was powerless, and Sun Wufan kept crying. This Raditz is really a typical bully and shy of the strong. It is also this kind of mother-in-law character that has harmed himself. Recalling the scenes in the original work, this guy did invent a lot of pretentious sayings, but it was also this kind of personality that cost him his life. Seeing Raditz going to ravage Son Goku, Lin Chuan naturally wouldn't pretend he didn't see it. As long as he really kills Son Goku, he will stop him in an instant. As for being attacked by Piccolo and Son Goku, he didn't take it to heart at all. To be honest, it was very wise to attack in an instant without knowing whether we were the enemy or not. Seize the opportunity and kill with one strike. It's a pity that the difference in strength is too big, and Lin Chuan is confident enough. So he is not afraid at all. In simple terms, when adults are talking, why would they care about two children patting themselves next to them? Only people like Raditz can retaliate for their anger. Moreover, Lin Chuan also had his word in advance, asking Piccolo to attack him. He wanted to see how powerful the demon Guangguang killing cannon was. What's wrong? You don't even have the strength to stand up? You're such a useless guy. Since your father is so ignorant, then go to hell. I will take your son away and train him for you. Walking in front of Son Goku, Raditz's domineering posture seemed to be that he was afraid that others would not see that he had defeated his younger brother. The weak can only find a sense of existence at this time. Facing the strong, characters like Raditz are dispensable. Stop, Gohan, run. Once again threatening his son, Son Goku didn't know where the power came from. It's like a flashback. This scene shocked Raditz again. After suffering several losses, he retreated 10 meters away when Son Goku exploded. I have been cautious from the beginning, fearing that the boat will capsize in the gutter again. What a loser. People like this can still scare you. With 1,500 combat power points on you, it's better to give it to a dog, Raditz. In one sentence, this is Lin Chuan's General Raditz. Demean to the bottom line. To be honest, their current combat power is probably less than 100. Even if it breaks out again, what level can it reach? Even though Raditz is injured, he can fully exert his strength with more than 1,000 combat power points. To be frightened by a person whose fighting ability has hit rock bottom is really like a dog's life. Needless to say, Raditz is really good at it. He obviously had absolutely crushing strength, and he started with a natural talent, but in the end he was beaten to a pulp by himself, and was counterattacked by Son Goku and Piccolo. After hearing what Lin Xuan said, Raditz didn't know what Lin Xuan really meant. He just thought that he was being looked down upon, and he couldn't wipe his face off, and he felt extremely unhappy. Although Lin Xuan's combat power is indeed as high as 5,000 points, everyone is working for King Frieza. Even though his level may be one level lower than others, as a team, the three Scions are one of the most capable teams under Frieza. Although I don't know who you are, and which team are you a member of? But, as a soldier of the same legion, there is no need to be sarcastic, right? Everyone, if you look up and look down, maybe you will have times like this in the future. As he spoke, Raditz suddenly paused, as if something happened to make him stop talking. It wasn't until a while later that he looked stunned and continued. This time we meet on Earth, it is fate that we meet each other. We are both working for King Frieza. I think you came to Earth to survey whether the Earth is worthy of invasion, right? It just so happens that you are alone, and your combat power is as high as 5,000 points. How about cooperating with us? Compared to the Earth, our Scion team discovered a very valuable planet some time ago. This time I came to the Earth to seek help from this useless brother, just to gain more strength and seize the time to complete the invasion. If you join, I believe it will be done soon. By then, the credit and benefits will be evenly distributed. After Raditz's long speech, Lin Xuan was surprised for a moment by Raditz's sudden change. You know, he is insulting this guy Raditz without any bottom line. He is not afraid that he will not fight back, but he is afraid that he will not fight back. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to deal with him. As a result, I don't know where Raditz's scheming came from. His temperament suddenly changed drastically, and he even said such words to him. There is no doubt that this is recruiting him. They are completely different from before and after, and even the look in their eyes has changed. Puzzled, but soon, Lin Xuan saw a subtle red light emitting from Raditz's combat power detector, and then he realized that it seemed that someone behind this guy was passing on the message. It shouldn't be Nappa. After all, although the idiot described in the original book is not stupid, his IQ is indeed not online, and it is absolutely impossible to teach Raditz to say such a thing. So, if it's not Nappa, it must be Vegeta. Unexpectedly, they are far away on the other side of the star, but they are always paying attention to the situation here. Located in an unknown galaxy extremely far away from the solar system, on a gray-black planet of life, two men wearing Frieza Legion combat uniforms were eating the creatures on the planet. Of course, it is eaten after it is roasted over fire. There is no doubt that they are Vegeta and Nappa. Originally, Vegeta and Nappa didn't care at all that Raditz went to Earth to find his brother Kakarot. After all, he was just a low-level warrior with a combat power of only 2. Even if you are still alive after growing up, how much fighting power can you have? Cleaning up the battlefield won't help them, right? After all, even people like Raditz are just trash in Vegeta's eyes. More is not more, less is not less. If they weren't the only Scions left now, he would have abandoned them long ago. After learning that Raditz had arrived on Earth, if he and Nappa hadn't already taken over the planet at this moment, he wouldn't have bothered to pay attention. The previous changes are indeed somewhat unexpected. After all, there is a way to control combat power on Earth. But later, when he learned that Raditz was almost killed several times, his anger immediately exploded. In his words, he has really raised a lot of people over the years. It's actually not as good as Kakarot, who was born with only 2 combat power, and now has less than 1,000 combat power. No matter what you do, eating comes first. However, for him, Raditz also brought him a special news, that is, there are others going to the Earth. Although I don't know who it is, the opponent's combat power is as high as 5,000 points, which shows that the Earth has attracted the attention of Frieza's Legion. The value of such a remote planet is almost 0. No one would come to investigate such a planet that cannot be sold for much money. Vegeta, can you just let Raditz deliver the message? The value of that planet is at least worth 100 large life planets rich in minerals. Nappa swallowed the food he was chewing, and then said, "It is said that people with simple minds have well-developed limbs, but Nappa's well-developed limbs are not really as brainless as described in the original novel. He has a brain, but is just a brain. It doesn't matter. I just want to see what the other party's reaction is. We are also a member of the Legion, and he was so rude after knowing that Raditz was my subordinate. Who is the captain he leads? I am very curious." Vegeta had a cold and stern light in his eyes, and then said, "No matter how bad Raditz is, he is still my subordinate. Not just anyone can bully him. He has his plans, and there must be a purpose for doing so. For him, as long as it has value, that's great. If you are unwilling to cooperate, consider how to handle it after understanding the specific details." Although he has always been ranked among the upper middle class in Frieza's army and is not even considered a top fighter, Vegeta, with a combat power of 18,000 points, is not afraid of anyone except Frieza and the Geniet team. Even when facing Dodoria and Sabo, he has always maintained his pride. As arrogant as he is, he finally came to his senses only after experiencing the severe beating on planet Namek in the original work. Earth. Looking at Raditz in front of him, Lin Chuan's expression changed unpredictably. Such a solicitation would probably have been accepted by those surveyors who were really members of Frieza's Legion. After all, who wouldn't want to take credit for bringing it to your doorstep? What a pity. Whether it was Vegeta's idea or Raditz's plan, the wrong person was used. Lin Chuan was not interested in this kind of thing at all. Looking at Raditz, Lin Chuan went from thinking he was useless to slowly showing a trace of pity. Frankly speaking, Raditz is indeed pitiful. Not only did he have no brilliant achievements in this life, but he died tragically on Earth in the end, and he died at the hands of his own brother. You say he is evil, right? He is indeed quite evil. In order to make Son Goku submit, he told Son Goku to kill 100 Earthlings and surrender. He even kidnapped his own nephew as a blackmail. In fact, is this really evil? Not. In the final analysis, it is most likely that Raditz wanted his younger brother Son Goku to listen to him in order to show his strength. From coming to Earth to dying with Son Goku, it can be said that he only killed the farmer who attacked him with a gun. In other words, Raditz died unjustly. As the first boss that just appeared in the first part of the universe, a new era started and then came to an end. Besides, Raditz's life can only be described as miserable in 2 words. In his early days, he obeyed the king's orders and stayed with Vegeta, until after planet Vegeta was destroyed, he became a laborer at the lowest level. Later, he finally found some sense of existence, but he was dragged to death by his younger brother. Although he committed suicide, who can be sure that this is not a plot kill? If Raditz was truly evil and hopeless, then he wouldn't have asked Son Goku to kill 100 Earthlings to submit his name, but would have completely destroyed the Earth. With Raditz's strength, it is actually enough. To put it bluntly, Raditz is quite humane. Think about it. Nappa is mindless and cruel, torturing and killing people whenever they disagree. Vegeta is so ruthless that he won't even spare his loyal teammates like Nappa. In contrast, when Raditz came to Earth, he did not carry out large-scale destruction, but after finding Goku, he mainly focused on persuasion. Even if he was rejected, he would only use coercion and inducement. If it were Nappa or Vegeta, how could he have so many choices? And that's not the saddest part. Before Raditz died, he thought that his sincerity could be exchanged for Vegeta to come to Earth to seize the Dragon Balls and summon Shenron to resurrect him. Life is aggrieved, and death is even more aggrieved. The worst thing about him is that he doesn't even know how miserable he is. From the beginning, I thought about killing Raditz to get tickets to the Z Warrior Circle, but now I have a little compassion. Lin Chuan was slightly touched. He is a living person, and this is a real world. It's not a game, it's not a plot. His thoughts will continue to change due to encounters and experiences. Staring at Raditz, who was still proudly negotiating terms with him, Lin Chuan really wanted to tell him that he was so obedient, but he was not taken seriously by Vegeta and Nappa at all. Taking a deep breath, Lin Chuan's eyes narrowed and he began to ramble. First of all, my evaluation of you is not simply cynicism. I look down on you from the bottom of my heart, because this guy seems to have a brain, but he is very brainless. Secondly, on the basis that we are both scions. You have 1,500 combat power points, but you can only perform at this level. You are so weak that you can only ravage your own brother for fun. In my opinion, this is the most useless performance. We scions are supposed to become braver and stronger the more we fight, but you behave so timidly, even cowardly, in front of your brother. Finally, you helped count the money after being sold. What a fool. What you just said was taught to you by Vegeta, who is far away on another planet behind you. Don't you think that what you said will bring you the consequences of killing someone? Disaster? This is the Earth, and there are endless galaxies in the middle. If I want to kill you if I disagree with you, who can protect you? After finishing speaking, Lin Chuan showed a teasing look. He suddenly changed his original idea and wanted to lend a helping hand to Raditz. Of course, people also need to be willing to hold his hand and escape from the abyss. Since Vegeta used him to test and recruit him, he would change Raditz and let him face Vegeta a year later. Raditz versus Vegeta. What an interesting thing. I don't expect Raditz to defeat Vegeta, but it shouldn't be a problem for Raditz to defeat Nappa under his training. A series of words reached the ears of everyone present. Not only Raditz was shocked, but Piccolo and Son Goku were also shocked. Even Vegeta and Nappa on the other side of the star were in disbelief. Nappa stood up in shock, with a look of disbelief on his face. He is also a scion. Over the years, it's not like they haven't visited and investigated. The surviving scions are almost extinct. It's already a miracle that Raditz's brother Kakarot is still alive. The guy who appears now not only wears the combat uniform of Frieza's army, but also has 5,000 combat points. What does this mean? There is too much information. You said you were also a scion? Impossible. Logically speaking, there are no other scions except me, Nappa, Vegeta, my stupid brother, and my little brother who lives on Earth. That's right. You are still wearing the combat uniform of Frieza's army. Do you think we are all fools? How can we not know if there are other scions in Frieza's legion? Raditz spoke righteously and vowed. Being questioned for this reason, Lin Chuan knew that his home court was here. After all, this is the reason for taking the initiative to expose your identity. I'm not afraid to get to the bottom of it, but I'm afraid that people won't care and won't ask. He is a scion, and he must tell it now so that he can better integrate into the world in the future. Immediately, Lin Chuan laughed and responded, "Ha ha, there are no absolutes in the world, and many things are just what you think. Besides, you thought of me as a soldier of Frieza's legion, and I never said that. I am Frieza's dog. Take a good look at our scion's tail. You probably don't recognize it, Raditz. I am also a scion." With that said, Lin Chuan immediately let go of the tail around his waist. Who would have paid attention to this detail before? They were all shocked by Lin Chuan's sudden appearance and display of great strength. Seeing it now, it shocked everyone again. So, you are really our scion. The most shocking person was Raditz, and his tail was the best proof. He stared at Lin Chuan and asked again without hesitation, "Tell me your name." The name of the scion? It's been more than 20 years. If you didn't ask, I would have almost forgotten it. As he spoke, Lin Chuan's lips quivered. He knew that Vegeta and Nappa behind him also wanted to know who he was, so he said, "Talos." But compared to this name, I prefer others to call me Lin Chuan. Forests of woods, rivers of mountains and rivers. After finishing his words, Lin Chuan glanced at Piccolo and Son Goku on the other side. Knowing that they were very nervous and worried at this time, he immediately said, "You two don't have to be so afraid. I don't come to Earth with any malicious intent. I believe you can also feel that there is no murderous intention in me. Also, you don't need to worry about what Raditz will do. After all, even if he wanted to do it, he wouldn't dare to do it with me here." After the words fell, Piccolo and Son Goku were both stunned. Lin Chuan was a bit too direct, which made it difficult for them to accept it, and made them even more suspicious. In response to this, Raditz on the opposite side quit. "What is your purpose, Sky? You are not from Frieza's legion, so why are you wearing this battle suit? Also, do you mean to protect the Earth? Protect my stupid brother? Are you going to be a traitor to the Scions too? After asking several questions at once, Raditz was obviously anxious. He couldn't even figure out what was going on with Lin Chuan. He was not a legionnaire, but he wore a combat uniform and came to Earth after him. What a coincidence. Also, this guy obviously wants to protect Kakarot and that Piccolo now. Kakarot, in his opinion, is already a traitor to their Scions. His thoughts were confused, and he could only wait for Lin Chuan's answer. The method of coercion and inducement can only be used on beings who are weaker than yourself. Raditz did not have the courage to deal with Lin Chuan, whose combat power was as high as 5,000 points. I was so tough when I talked about recruiting before, and it was because of Vegeta's support. So now, I can only question it as a Scion. It's just what you think about being a traitor. Of course I have a purpose for coming to Earth, but it's definitely different from yours. As for what you said about protecting the Earth, protecting Kakarot and this Namekian, you were right. I don't intend to let you hurt them. Speaking of which, as he spoke, Lin Chuan narrowed his eyes slightly. Such an expression made Raditz tremble all over and send a chill down his spine. What are you talking about? Speaking of which, don't you think that instead of figuring out my purpose and plan now, or caring about whether I want to protect the Earth and Kakarot and the others, you shouldn't be more worried about your current situation? Lin said. Chuan narrowed his eyes. Then he added, according to what you said, you came to Earth to find your brother Kakarot to help you invade other planets. But now it's like this. Not only did you fail to gain the approval of your brother, but you fell into this situation. I'm afraid that if you return to Vegeta and Nappa now, you won't be treated well from now on, right? Even with the arrogant Vegeta's temperament, he will think that you have embarrassed him and kill you directly. This waste. As Lin Chuan's critical words fell, he added the words he said before. Raditz was immediately dumbfounded. Yes. What value does he have now? He insisted on coming to Earth and wanted to bring his younger brother Kakarot, but he failed and was almost killed by his younger brother who was weaker than him. Even if he is not dead, he will definitely not get any benefits if he goes back now. Besides, with his 1,500 combat power points, to put it bluntly, he is essentially dispensable in the team. It has always been the job of cleaning up the battlefield. His face was extremely ugly. Raditz had always thought that he was a smart person. He knows that he has always been looked down upon. So he tried to be low-key and silent in front of Vegeta and Nappa. If you are weak, you have no right to speak. This is a world of the weak and the strong. Lin Chuan was surprised for a while that Raditz was so serious. From his expression alone, he could see that Raditz knew his situation. It seems that you understand this truth, and that's the best thing. In the end, you are too useless, and your combat effectiveness is only 1,500 points for so many years. It seems that you not only don't practice, but you only avoid dangers and live on. So, now I am not even as good as my own brother Kakarot. Otherwise, even if there is no chance to become stronger, just because we Scions get stronger as we fight, your combat power will be at least 3,000 points higher after so many years of training. As Lin Chuan spoke, he was also calculating how Raditz had come here over the years. Of course, being suppressed by the genius Vegeta and the elite Nappa made him depressed. As the saying goes, it is not unreasonable for the strong to become stronger and the weak to become weaker. Lin Chuan's criticism was so cruel. Hit the nail on the head. Raditz gritted his teeth, his eyes full of anger. As Scions, when each of us was born, God has already determined how high our achievements will be and how big the gap will be between us and certain people. Yes, my combat power is indeed only 1,500 points, but it's not as bad as you said. Do you think I don't want to become stronger? Do you think I am willing to settle for the status quo? Even if your combat power is as high as 5,000 points, don't insult me like this. This is Raditz's heartfelt voice, and he has been fighting against fate. But in his heart, he still believes that talent determines everything. Even if he is a superior warrior, he is only the lowest talent among superior warriors. It is true that the birth combat power reaches 200 points, but there are so many Scions who have reached this level. He was able to follow Prince Vegeta because his father Bardock was the representative of the lower-level Scion warriors. It was an arrangement made by the original king to show off to all the lower-level Scions and win people's hearts. Really? Then why can your brother Kakarot do this? Also, I'm very sorry to tell you that my combat power when I was born was only 50 points. Raditz's excitement was gone. Lin Xuan didn't have any mood swings, but he answered calmly. Raditz couldn't believe this again. Even Nappa and Vegeta on the other side of the star were even more shocked. The birth combat power is only 50 points, and he is just a lower-level warrior. He can actually increase his combat power to 5,000 points. You know, Raditz's birth combat power reached 200 points, but now it is only 1,500 points. Nappa, as a noble queen among superior warriors, an elite warrior. The combat power at birth was 800 points. So far, it is only 4,000 points. Of course, Vegeta would not compare himself. Because Vegeta considers himself a genius, no matter how clever any Scion is, there is no way he can compare with him. He was born with 2,000 combat power points, the highest in Scion history, and now has 18,000 combat power points. The most powerful Scion in history. How on earth did you do it? Palos. No. Lin Xuan. Raditz took a deep breath. He wants to know. As soon as these words came out, even Son Goku and Piccolo on the other side pricked up their ears. They also wanted to know how Lin Xuan became stronger. They were not fools, so they naturally understood what Lin Xuan meant. Hearing this, Lin Xuan laughed again. He said so much, which shows that it is still useful to Raditz. Being able to ask this question shows that Raditz has shaken his original concept and also desires to become stronger. After thinking for a moment, Lin Xuan said, "The combat power at birth is just an innate advantage and does not represent the limit of future growth. So what if you are a lower-level warrior, like Kakarot or me, whose combat strength is only 2 or 50 points, but with hard work and practice, you can still become stronger? A high starting point doesn't mean you are absolute. A low starting point doesn't mean you are doomed to be a weak person. Let's put it this way, you think you have been working hard, but I'm afraid you don't know what real hard work is. When you think that you have reached your limit, in fact, others have paid 10 times, even 100 times, or even 1,000 times more than you." As Lin Xuan's words gradually came out, Raditz was dumbfounded and his mind was spinning. In this case, even Vegeta and Nappa, who heard it through the contact function of the combat power detector, were greatly stimulated. We are not stupid. We have all gone through hardships and obstacles along the way. However, they have indeed been content with the status quo these years and have been wasting their time. Because as their combat power reaches a certain peak, it will no longer increase. Even improving 1 point of combat power is extremely difficult. Take the initiative to practice? In their opinion, what would happen even if they did it? Well said. So what if I am a lower-level warrior? Even if my birth combat power is only 2, I will not give in easily. As long as I work hard enough, I can conquer anything. Inspired by Lin Xuan's words, Son Goku's voice came. Obviously, he agreed very much with Lin Xuan's statement, because that's how he got there step by step. Piccolo also nodded, even if he didn't speak. He agreed very much. Tisich, Kakarot, do you think you can really surpass my big brother? Stop joking. Raditz gritted his teeth angrily. They say they don't believe it and are unwilling to accept it, but in fact they are shaken in their hearts. Because recalling the previous battle, he indeed seriously underestimated Kakarot, and even ended up feeling a little afraid. If Lin Xuan hadn't appeared, he might have been dead, so how could he still be here now? At this moment, Lin Xuan stopped talking. Son Goku over there had already taken the opportunity to catch his breath, protected his son, and replied firmly, "Although you are really strong, brother, you are not invincible in my opinion. Over the years, although Piccolo has been practicing, he is actually not practicing as hard as he did in the early years. This time we have seen a broader world, and our strength will definitely improve by leaps and bounds in the next period of time. I'm right, Piccolo." Son Goku is confident. He is simple-minded and has no ill intentions, and what he tells is the truth. No need to take me with you. You Scions are indeed powerful, but I Piccolo Daimao, will surpass you sooner or later. Also, are you a very strong brother? Didn't you almost get killed by my demonic light-killing cannon? A self-righteous guy who doesn't even know how to practice to become stronger and just relies on talent to grow. How stupid. After finishing his words, Piccolo's eyes fell on Lin Chuan again. He knows that his real target is him. At least he was able to hold his magic-piercing light-killing cannon with one hand, which could surpass the limit and kill Raditz. It was so understated and unscathed. What is this concept? The gap in strength is like an insurmountable chasm. Under Piccolo's sarcasm, veins appeared on Raditz's forehead, but he did not have an attack. Getting angry is inevitable, but this is indeed the case. And he mainly heard Piccolo's evaluation of him, which meant that he was obviously talented, but he didn't cherish it and practice it. Who could blame him for being such a weakling? Raditz, if he had really practiced harder these years, or worked hard to become stronger, maybe this is really not the case now. Seeing that Lin Chuan's combat power of 50 points had been increased to 5,000 points, Raditz seemed to see a brilliant future waving to him. At this moment, everything and all the thoughts in the past have become farts. Compared with increasing strength, what's the point? After some communication, under the guidance of Lin Chuan's words, the original deadlock was brought to life, which not only invisibly resolved the crisis of brothers fighting to the death, but also opened a new chapter. Lin Chuan changed the original plot development trajectory and also changed the fate of everyone present. Neither Son Goku nor Raditz need to die, and Raditz will no longer suffer from the joint counterattack of Son Goku and Piccolo. Of course, the premise is that Raditz doesn't take action against them either. As long as Raditz does not do anything that harms the Earth or the people on Earth, even if he stays on Earth from now on, he will not be targeted. To be honest, it is very unexpected that things have developed to this result. But in a sense, everyone is happy. After the exchange with Lin Chuan, Raditz was stimulated and put aside everything else. After abandoning everything in the past, he even disobeyed the orders given to him by Vegeta and Nappa on the other side of the galaxy. He also didn't want to be an ant at the mercy of Vegeta and Nappa. So, he wants to become stronger. As long as he has strong strength, as long as his combat effectiveness is doubled and doubled. At that time, not to mention Nappa, even Prince Vegeta can no longer treat him as a dispensable existence. It was the achievements of Lin Chuan and Kakarot that gave Raditz hope. Talent and hard work should coexist. Raditz believes that his talent is higher, so the intensity he can achieve through hard work will be higher. Kakarot was born with a combat power of only 2, but through his own efforts and training, he reached a combat power of over 1,000, and even threatened to surpass himself in a short time. Lin Chuan was born with only 50 combat points, but now has 5,000 combat points, which is more powerful than Nappa. Raditz is not stupid, nor is he an idiot. He felt that if he practiced hard like Lin Chuan and Kakarot, with his starting point and his original talent, he would at least have a combat power exceeding 5,000 points. It might even exceed 10,000 points. Of course, what Raditz sees at this time is only the good side. He doesn't know that there are too many ways to become stronger, and finding the best and most suitable method for you is the key. Otherwise, if you practice hard and work hard, you will naturally get very little improvement. Otherwise, a person can become stronger just by practicing casually. It took Lin Chuan more than 20 years, using limited conditions to carry out countless kinds of training, to increase his combat power to 15,000 points. Lin Chuan will not tell others this. Raditz only thought that his combat power was only 5,000 points. If he knew how strong he was now, he would probably be dumbfounded. And if he knew that Lin Chuan had not only reached 15,000 combat power points with the help of his hard work, but could now increase his combat power by 1 point per second, he would be scared to death. Speaking of current strength, including these more than 20 minutes, Lin Chuan's combat power at this time has increased from 16,680 points to 18,060 points based on the unlimited combat power system that increases combat power by 1 per second. A full 1,380 points improvement. This combat power has already surpassed Vegeta of the current era, and in about half an hour, his combat power will break through to the 20,000 point mark. Of course, in the Big Universe era, A combat power of over 10,000 is the basis. A combat power of tens of thousands is nothing more than ants. But with a combat power of tens of thousands, placed on any planet, he would be considered an absolute powerhouse. Unless it is on those super planets or forbidden planets. It should be said that Lin Xuan had not really felt the feeling of improvement every second until now. I simply am a time traveler and have gone through more than 20 years of suffering and training. Otherwise, I will really lose my way. At this moment, thinking of the legendary Super Saiyan Broly in this world, Lin Xuan suddenly felt a sense of empathy. Chuan Chao's existence is getting stronger every moment. No wonder Broly goes crazy because he can't control his power and can easily go crazy. The slightest mood swing can cause you to lose control. To improve your strength and temper your state of mind, you must catch up. It is true that it will not affect him at the moment, but if things go on like this, Lin Xuan's state of mind will not improve. As his strength continues to grow, he may fall into a state of madness at any time. The situation stabilized. Piccolo used the Namekian's self-healing ability to restore his broken arm. Such a cool operation shocked Son Goku and Raditz. Even though Son Goku knew Piccolo's abilities, he still found it incredible when he saw it now. Piccolo didn't mind this kind of look. He seized the opportunity at this time, faced Lin Xuan and asked, "You said before that I am a Namekian? What does this mean?" When the words came out, Piccolo's expression became solemn. The matter of Raditz was not a foregone conclusion before, but now he would be a fool if he didn't ask. With an online IQ and courage and resourcefulness, Piccolo's questions also attracted the attention of Son Goku and Raditz. Especially Son Goku. After he found out that he was an alien, it was difficult to accept it. Now that he heard that Piccolo is also an alien, he started to look forward to it. In fact, if we really want to talk about aliens, Piccolo is the one. It seems that you don't know your identity yet. Speaking of which, your Namekian appearance is unique in the entire universe, and your clan has very strange powers, just like your rebirth of a broken limb before. Ability. Looking at Piccolo, Lin Xuan explained casually with a smile. The reason why Piccolo's identity was revealed in his previous words was to make him realize his own identity first. They wouldn't have to wait until a year later to know their life experience through Vegeta. Piccolo was silent. At the same time, the old god in the Temple of Heaven, who had been watching here, was also deep in thought. It was only at this moment that they realized their identity, and they were filled with emotion and confusion. Just imagine, you have always considered yourself a member of life on Earth, and suddenly one day an alien comes and tells you that you are from a certain star. What would you do? After all, Piccolo's ability to accept is extremely strong, so he did not show any unwillingness to believe it. He laughed inwardly, but after realizing that he was also an alien, he felt relieved. In the past, being bound to a planet resulted in great restrictions on what you could see and hear. Now, he has a new goal. I would like to ask, does my home planet still exist? Piccolo had a vague light in his eyes. As soon as these words came out, Lin Xuan nodded without hesitation. Luckily, even though the planet Namek suffered a catastrophe many years ago, it was not destroyed. Unlike the Earth, Namek is surrounded by 3 stars. The sky is not as blue as the Earth, and the environment is not as good. And because it has 3 stars, Namek only has daytime and no night? As Lin Xuan spoke out the information about planet Namek in his memory, these words were also remembered by Piccolo. To him, this is his home planet after all. After hearing these descriptions, Son Goku was shocked. There is no night, only day. So people don't have to sleep anymore? At this time, I was very nervous and thought about this question. It should be said that it is indeed Son Goku. Okay, I only know so much about planet Namek. Maybe you will have the opportunity to go back in the near future. Now, let me first talk about the purpose of my coming to Earth. I believe you are also concerned about it now, right? I can't come for no reason. As he said that, Lin Xuan's eyes wandered around a few people with a smile. Finally, it fell on Raditz. Now Raditz has been successfully deceived by him. But if that were the case, Vegeta and Nappa might not come to Earth, because Raditz is dispensable to them. Even if something like this happens on Earth, he still exists. But for Vegeta and Nappa, this is not enough for them to set off to Earth immediately. You must know that they still have a super planet to occupy. In the original work, they would abandon that planet and come to Earth entirely because of the Dragon Balls. Because of Dragon Ball, they were attracted. Later, I learned that the Dragon Balls were created by the Namekians, so Frieza confirmed the news and went to the Namek planet to invade and snatch the Dragon Balls. Thus, the chapter of Universe Emperor truly begins. Because of Lin Xuan's sudden seriousness, Raditz frowned. Curiosity was inevitable, including Vegeta and Nappa on the other side of the Interstellar, who were already angry and ready to go to the Earth to cause trouble. All pricked up their ears. Raditz's betrayal and disobedience made them extremely angry, and they felt that they had raised this loser all these years in vain, and others had instigated rebellion with just a few words. For them, even if what Lin Xuan said makes sense, how can a person's strength be improved so easily? Furthermore, so what if it has 5,000 combat power points? Not only was Vegeta dismissive, Nappa was just surprised. At this point, Son Goku, Sun Wuhan, and Piccolo were all standing ready. They were deeply afraid that Lin Xuan would reveal a purpose that was unacceptable to them. At this moment, there is no doubt that Lin Xuan is the most threatening existence. Don't be so nervous. Through some special news, I learned that there is something on Earth that can fulfill other people's wishes. That thing should be called Dragon Ball. I need to use the Dragon Ball of the Earth to fulfill a wish of mine. I wonder if you can lend it to me. After the words fell, Lin Xuan still deliberately organized the language. On the one hand, Vegeta's combat power detectors are highly monitored by Frieza's army. Once it is too obvious and directly involves the Namekians, then Vegeta and Nappa may not come to the Earth in the middle, but directly go to the Namek planet to cause trouble. Therefore, it is only said that the Earth has something that can fulfill wishes, called Dragon Balls. In this case, it will be the same as the original route, only telling the existence of the Dragon Ball that fulfills wishes. In this way, even if Raditz's combat power detector is highly monitored by Frieza's army, Frieza will never take any action until there is no definite information to prove that the Dragon Balls can really grant wishes. After all, he is the Emperor of the universe. What world has he not seen before? There are countless planets in the universe, and there are too many legends and stories circulating, and most of them are just toys to deceive children. If a universe emperor rushes for any piece of news, then the universe emperor will be too busy. In the original plot, Frieza should have known about the existence of Dragon Balls on Earth with the help of Raditz's power detector at the beginning. He just kept waiting until Vegeta came to Earth to verify the accuracy of the news. Using Vegeta to go to Earth, he confirmed that the Dragon Balls could indeed grant wishes, and then he took action. It's just that he didn't go to the Earth, but knew that the Dragon Balls were created by the Namekians through the information obtained by Vegeta, so he went straight to the Namek planet. After hearing what Lin Xuan said, Son Goku and Piccolo looked at each other and expressed surprise. They couldn't believe it. They didn't expect Lin Xuan, a scion from alien space, to actually know that there were Dragon Balls on Earth. Raditz on the other side was immediately shocked. Make a wish come true? Dragon Ball? His worldview was once again expanded. Is this true? Does such a thing actually exist in this world? Raditz couldn't help but ask with enthusiasm in his eyes. If true, he also wants to realize his wish. Although I don't know where you knew it from, but now that it's been revealed, we can't hide it anymore. Son Goku said calmly, but he wouldn't just ignore it. The Dragon Ball can make a wish for Lin Xuan, but if Lin Xuan's wish is to harm the world, or to benefit himself at the expense of others, or to wish for immortality, then no matter how powerful Lin Xuan is, he will definitely stop it. Just as he was about to say something more, Lin Xuan saw that the effect had been achieved and raised his hand to stop him. Wait a moment for now. There is something I need to do first. After saying that, he looked at Raditz again. His eyes widened, and he used his energy to destroy the combat power detector Raditz was wearing. This happened, and several people were stunned. I was negligent just now. I hope what I just said was not heard by Vegeta and Nappa behind you. Lin Xuan's words made Raditz, Son Goku, and Piccolo tremble again. Only then did I understand why Lin Xuan did this. Damn! Although I took the initiative to cut off the contact with Vegeta just now, the communication function is monitored by Vegeta and has a listening function. Raditz panicked for a moment. Nappa doesn't scare him so much. Besides, Lin Xuan's combat power is as high as 5,000 points, so he doesn't need to be afraid of Nappa, whose combat power is only 4,000 points. But he knows best how terrifying Vegeta is. There are things like Dragon Balls on Earth that can make wishes come true. What could be more tempting than this? Hey, what do you mean? Do you mean? Piccolo asked immediately after seeing this situation. Even a smart person can guess it. It seems that there is no way to avoid it. Because of my outspokenness, the Earth may soon be invaded by 2 other Scions. Lin Xuan said and looked up at the sky. If you do a complete show and give up halfway, then you have really failed. Those 2 Scions? Are they the Nappa and Vegeta you just mentioned? Are they stronger than you? Son Goku asked. He was extremely excited now and was completely unaware of the seriousness of the situation. His son Sun Wuhan next to him is also still young. He just feels that his father is beside him and he is not afraid of anything. Tisich, Kakarot, so you don't know anything? Let's not talk about Nappa for now. Vegeta is the prince of our clan. He is known as the most talented warrior in the history of the Scions. His fighting power? Up to 18,000 points. Before Lin Xuan could answer, Raditz couldn't wait to answer. 18,000 points? Son Goku was shocked. Piccolo on the side turned green. No, wrong. Piccolo's face turned purple. Raditz is so strong with 1,500 points. Lin Xuan, who had a combat power of 5,000 points, could already ravage them with one hand. So what is the concept of 18,000 combat power points? Piccolo can't imagine. Suddenly he felt top-heavy. At this moment, located on the planet where Vegeta and Nappa live, everything that happened on the Earth, including the last message about wish fulfillment, was heard by them through the listening function of the combat effectiveness detector. There is something on the Earth that can fulfill other people's wishes. They were shocked and even more incredible. The mere Earth could actually have such a product. That Lin Xuan went to Earth to get this thing and realize his wish. Damn it. It depends on the situation. That damn lower-level soldier Talos destroyed Raditz's detector. Not only Kakarot, but now even that good-for-nothing Raditz has become a traitor. Vegeta, what should we do next? Go to Earth and catch them all? Nappa became fierce, like a crazy beast. The momentum is surging, and the appearance is ferocious. To call him stupid is actually not stupid at all, because he finally said that he would go to Earth to catch all the traitors. In fact, it was also for the Dragon Balls that could grant wishes, but he couldn't say it openly. He could only use purging traitors as the reason. Moreover, he could only go with Vegeta's consent. Where is Vegeta at this time? His expression was very calm, but it was so calm that it felt unnatural. Nappa, who was familiar with Vegeta, didn't dare to say anything more and stood aside obediently, because he knew that Vegeta in this appearance was the most terrifying. It seems that they realize that their conversations can be heard by us. That Talos is getting more and more interesting. Nappa, you don't need to hide it like this. You have been with me for so many years. You know me and I know you. Although I don't know whether the wish-fulfilling Dragon Ball is real or fake, but because that guy didn't take this prince seriously and even instigated Raditz's rebellion, I have to bear my prince's wrath. I haven't done any serious activities for so long that even a guy like Raditz has forgotten how terrifying this prince is. After saying that, Vegeta showed an extremely cruel smile on his face. Let's go. Let's go to this Earth. Vegeta made a decision. He has already imagined in his mind what will happen after he goes to Earth. He will torture everyone who disobeys him to death. That guy from Talos can become stronger with his so-called hard work. When this true genius of his arrives on Earth, he will be completely crushed by him. He wanted to see how much of that illusory hope there was. As for the Dragon Ball that can grant wishes, it must be his. Eternal life. Vegeta was already planning in his mind. For a long time, he was subordinate to Frieza. He has always been hanging around in the Legion, and his status is neither high nor low. As the Prince of the Scions, he had already guessed that the Scion clan would be wiped out by Frieza, and he already had a rebellious heart. It's just that there has never been a chance, nor is there enough opportunity for him to rebel. If he could gain eternal life by going to Earth this time, then Frieza would not be so scary to him. Frieza is not afraid. When the time comes, he can completely suppress Dodoria, Sabo, and those bastards from the Jinyu Special Forces. Leaving to Earth now? But we didn't plan it. If that planet is discovered by others, we won't even be able to drink soup. Nappa hesitated a little, and suddenly thought of their original plan. Arrangement? Asked. Hearing this, Vegeta sneered. In front of something that can fulfill your wishes, do you think so-called wealth is still important? Such a planet is rare, but compared to eternal life, it's nothing, Nappa. Vegeta got up and strolled towards the universe ship. Eternal life? Nappa still didn't react. Of course. As science, if we can get long-term life, then we can enjoy the fun of fighting forever. With a sneer, Vegeta opened the universe ship and got in. While explaining the goal, Vegeta was also testing Nappa. It would be great if only he, Vegeta, could get eternal life. Let Nappa know this purpose, and he can't wait to take action after arriving on Earth. When the time comes, let him take the lead, and after he has figured out the situation on the Earth, he will finally take action resolutely to solve all the troubles. That's it. Eternal life. Such a temptation is indeed worth more than anything else. Nappa understood immediately and quickly got into the universe ship. Let those three traitors survive for a while. Vegeta narrowed his eyes, his words full of ridicule. Hee. It will take less than a year to get to the Earth from here. Although it is a long time, you can arrive as soon as you wake up. When the time comes, please let me crush those three lower-level warriors. Vegeta. A cruel smile appeared on Nappa's face. Then it depends on your performance. Vegeta didn't object and sneered. The next second he started the universe ship, he also closed his eyes. Navigating the universe is boring, and the fastest way for them to spend this gap period is to sleep. Here, Vegeta and Nappa have locked the Earth as their target and are driving the universe ship there. At this same time, located somewhere in the vast sea of stars in the southern galaxy, a huge disc-shaped universe battleship is traveling at super light speed. This universe ship is one of the main ships belonging to Frieza's Legion. In the central area of this universe ship, the universe Emperor Frieza is sitting perfectly on his suspended stroller. This time in the southern galaxy, he captured another 1,000 planets in one fell swoop, and even spread the power of his Frieza Legion's second army. Although Frieza has always called himself the Emperor of the universe, in recent years, due to the lack of support from the God of Destruction in his early years, his power can only live in the North Galaxy. Therefore, Nanda Galaxy's move this time can be regarded as a direct expansion of his own power, and it has also raised his status to a higher level. He has been planning a bigger territory. The reason why it has been unable to reach out to the Southern Galaxy for decades is that, firstly, the power of the demon world cannot be underestimated. Secondly, the Southern Galaxy is not like the Northern Galaxy. The situation is chaotic, and there are no less than thousands of forces. Fortunately, the Lord of the Demon World, Depura, has been missing for many years, causing chaos and constant disputes within the demon world. This time, he got the exact information and learned that the internal forces of the Southern Galaxy had been fighting for years, so he decided that the opportunity was not to be missed and led the Second Legion of hundreds of millions of soldiers to plunder. It's a battle to decide the outcome. From now on, Frieza's Legion will march straight into the Southern Galaxy, and his territory will become larger and larger. Holding a glass of red wine elegantly in his hand, Frieza was still recalling the gains from this battle. It had been rare in many years for him to be so happy. While enjoying the wine, he admired the scenery of the universe. Of course, what the naked eye sees is just a straight line drawn out by darkness and countless bright lights. But in his eyes, everything he saw was his territory. Dodoria, how long will it take for us to return to our base camp on the border of the Beta Galaxy? After drinking the blood-like red wine in the glass, Frieza threw the glass to the side of the soldier who was responsible for daily life. Just turning around so casually made the soldiers who were operating the universe ship covered in cold sweat and dared not say a word. Frieza has always been moody. Once he answers an answer that he is not satisfied with, he will face the disaster of killing. Therefore, such work is usually answered by Frieza's right-hand men like Dodoria and Sabo. The Emperor of the Universe is so domineering and cruel. Go back to King Frieza. According to the original plan, it would have taken us more than 10 days to leave the southern galaxy and enter the northern galaxy. However, the pilots of this warship are all well-trained elites, so it is 10 days earlier than originally planned. I believe we can reach planet B-117 in less than 3 days. Under Dodoria's explanation, Frieza smiled with satisfaction and nodded. Navigating the universe is the most boring thing. Even Frieza, the Emperor of the Universe, has a long life, but he will still find it annoying. The average person's answer would touch Frieza's reverse scale, because they can't grasp the key points and can't speak. But people like Dodoria don't. After following Frieza for who knows how many years, how could he not know how to report on his trip? Just when Frieza was about to find some topics and talk about something, suddenly, the hatch of the information department on the other side was opened. A short soldier wearing a scientific research information uniform came in and came to Sabo's side and whispered a few words. As the information came into his ears, Sabo, who had been quietly staying aside, couldn't help but exclaimed, "What? Are you sure you're listening correctly?" Sabo asked with a serious look. This sound made the soldier who reported the report turn pale with fright. Frieza was attracted and asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "Sabo, looking at your startled look, this doesn't look like you." "Report to King Frieza. I just heard the news from Vegeta through the detector." "Forget it. Let you explain it." Sabo's eyes narrowed, knowing that he couldn't explain it for a while, so he ordered to the soldier. After hearing the order, the soldier took a deep breath and said immediately, "See King Frieza. The general situation is this. I have been responsible for monitoring the intelligence of the Scion team, and just now, I heard that Vegeta seems to have discovered something extraordinary. On a planet called Earth, a Dragon Ball appeared that could grant wishes. Now, Vegeta and Nappa are on their way to Earth. Based on the distance, they will arrive in about a year. By the way, 2 new Scions have appeared on the other side of the Earth. One of them is the younger brother of Raditz, who has a combat power of 1,500 points, and the other one, according to the description heard by the monitoring, is not only wearing the battle uniform of our Legion, and the combat power is as high as 5,000 points. His name is Lin Chuan, and his Scion name is Talos. After Xiao Bing spoke in one breath, no one in the entire central area dared to answer the question. After all, the master didn't say anything. So what qualifications did his subordinates have to express their opinions first? Oh. It's really interesting. I have only been away for less than a year, and our little Vegeta has brought me some interesting news. 2 new Scions, one of whom is still hidden in our Legion, has a combat power of 5,000 points. A gleam flashed in Frieza's eyes. The next second, he focused his attention on the Dragon Ball that can fulfill wishes. "Are you sure you heard correctly? What kind of Dragon Ball is that on the Earth? Can wishes come true?" "Yes, King Frieza. That's what Vegeta said. He said that he would go to Earth to get the Dragon Balls and gain eternal life, and then he could enjoy the fun of fighting forever." The soldier did not dare to neglect and told the truth. Answer. These words made Frieza burst into laughter. On the side, Dodoria finally couldn't help it and questioned, "Really or not? Is there really something in the universe that can fulfill wishes and gain eternal life? Whether it is true or not, that kid Vegeta knows this. You haven't reported the things yet. Are you planning to keep it for yourself?" "It should be so." Sabo answered the question intentionally or unintentionally. They have always disliked Vegeta. Although his strength is weaker than theirs, he has always been self-righteous. If it weren't for King Frieza keeping Vegeta in captivity, they would have suppressed him long ago. Ho. It doesn't matter. Maybe little Vegeta just wants to help me test whether it's true or not. Besides, hasn't the news been passed on? The Dragon Ball that can make wishes come true happens just as I have finished the first phase of the Southern Galaxy conquest. There is enough time. I also have a wish that I want to realize. I wonder if that thing can help me fulfill my wish? As Frieza finished speaking, everyone took a deep breath. Dodoria took a deep breath to calm down as quickly as possible. He almost hurt himself by talking too much. "Where is that planet called Earth?" Frieza faced Sabo and asked. As soon as these words came out, there was no one left to stand. However, the short and fat soldier seemed to be taking credit and said directly, "King Frieza, my subordinates have investigated the information about the Earth clearly. The planet called Earth is located at the end of the northern galaxy, and its coordinates are Rania, the Kaya supergalaxy cluster, a small galaxy called the Solar System. If we go directly at the speed of our main ship, we can reach it in almost a year, not much later than Vegeta. It won't take long. Maybe we can even catch up." After the words fell, the scene became even quieter. However, just when everyone thought that this little soldier was going to suffer, Frieza stared at the soldier with interest. "You did well. What's your name?" "Soldier." "Subordinate Sorbet." Sorbet responded respectfully. If Lin Chuan were here, he would definitely recognize this guy, because he is the leader of the remnants of Frieza's army who only appeared in the Dragon Ball Super era. He also used the Dragon Balls to resurrect Frieza, which led to the subsequent development of the plot. Of course, at this moment, Sorby is just a soldier in Frieza's army collecting information. Sob, if there is a chance in the future, give Sorbet more opportunities. After nodding, Frieza said nothing more. He used his mind to control the baby chair to slide to the central console. At this moment, the staff had already called up the star map so that Frieza could see it clearly. 1 year? It's not too long. Now that Vegeta has started taking action, let's change the destination and let's go directly to Earth to find out. I hope my little Vegeta will not disappoint me, oh. Frieza narrowed his eyes, murderous intent surging. Above the Earth. At this moment, the atmosphere was extremely dull. After learning how terrifying the two upcoming Scions were, Son Goku and Piccolo were dumbfounded. The scene was extremely silent, so quiet that it made people feel uncomfortable. There is no doubt that when their combat power data is only a few hundred points, and when they try their best, they are only over 1,000, the gap in combat power of several hundred points is something they cannot easily overcome. Compared with Lin Chuan, who had a combat power of 5,000 points, it was even more different. The current combat power of 18,000 points directly made them realize how terrifying the enemy this time was. No matter how confident Son Goku and Piccolo are, no matter how many hardships and obstacles they have experienced from the past to the present, they have managed to escape the danger every time. But this time, it's different from before. Just standing aside, Lin Chuan did not take the initiative to speak to break the current atmosphere. Now is not the time for him to intervene, but for them to react on their own and develop fighting spirit. Otherwise, even if he changes the plot, it will be counterproductive. After being silent for a long time, Son Goku took a deep breath and came back to his senses. He comforted the restless son beside him, and then took the initiative to ask, "Brother, how long will it take for the Scion named Vegeta to arrive on our Earth? How long does it take to reach the Earth?" When Son Goku asked this question, he undoubtedly chose to fight head-on. What happened this time has made him understand that he has no choice but to face the difficulties and has no choice. Watching the Earth being invaded and hiding yourself? He can't do it. Piccolo on the side frowned, his ears pricked up, and his eyes were full of rigor. Naturally, he is not the kind of person who will sit still and wait for death, so he can understand Son Goku's thoughts. After all, even if the numerical value is indeed scary, he is not the kind of person who will be easily frightened by a numerical value. Shocked. Although the enemy is powerful, he will not just surrender and wait to die. Based on the time I came to Earth, it would only take a year at most to reach Earth from the Ortida Nebula where Vegeta and the others are. It might even be faster, Raditz said with a livid face. At this time, he obviously didn't realize what his brother meant. 1 year? It's okay. Then we still have time to practice. After getting the answer, Son Goku's face relaxed a little, and he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. If it takes a few days or 10 days and a half to reach the Earth, then he really has no other choice. Because even if they have the time to practice, it may be okay to surpass their eldest brother Raditz, but they will definitely not be able to compare with Lin Chuan. If you can't even reach 5,000 combat points, how can you fight against an enemy with 18,000 points? If the equivalent combat power value cannot even exceed 10,000, they will not even be qualified to challenge the opponent. Not even a fraction of others. However, if there is a year, At least they still have time to exercise. On the side, Piccolo couldn't help but nodded when he heard Son Goku's words. He knew that Son Goku had similar ideas to him. It must be said that although Piccolo in this era has not completely gotten rid of the devil's personality, he is already changing. The evolution of the situation forced him to change himself to adapt to this new era. After hearing Son Goku's words and seeing Son Goku clenching his fists, looking full of expectation for him, Raditz was extremely shocked. Hey, Kakarot, you don't really think that you can reverse the situation and defeat Vegeta and the others with just 1 year of training, do you? Raditz's mouth twitched, unable to accept that his brother was so stupid. How would he know that his brother would really do it in the future under the impetus of fate? It's just that no one would believe such an outrageous thing before it happened. Hee, you can't say that. In my opinion, you can't give up just because the enemy is too powerful, right? 1 year is not long, but it is not short either. Even if I cannot reach such a high level of strength in the end, at least I will not regret it if I work hard. Son Goku's answer was so firm. The words are also full of encouragement. No wonder, he will be the protagonist and the backbone of the Z Warrior group. Even though sometimes he is stupid and sometimes quite selfish, in the final analysis, he is always the one who moves forward bravely and resists all dangers. That's right. And just because others can't do it, doesn't mean we can't do it. Over the years, our strength has been limited by our vision and has been unable to improve. It's different now. We have seen a higher realm exist, so 1 year is enough for us to become stronger. Piccolo answered. He stood next to Son Goku, and even Son Goku was extremely surprised for a while. But Son Goku was very happy, because he didn't kill Piccolo at first, just hoping that Piccolo could fight alongside him one day. Although I still had selfish motives at the beginning, so that I could always have a competitor in the future. But Son Goku really wants to be friends with Piccolo. Listening to what the two said, Raditz was so angry that he laughed out loud. I admit that hard work may really make us stronger. After all, the example of this guy Talos is here. But Kakarot, you are too naive. And you, the Namekian, are too self-righteous. Before you say such big words, let's first increase your combat power of less than 1,000 points. You are not even qualified to fight me alone, let alone Vegeta. Even Nappa, who has only 4,000 combat power points, can ravage you to death with a wave of his hand. Raditz has given up arguing and is telling the facts. He wanted to let them know through these words that they can have imagination, but don't think so wonderfully. To increase from 1,000 to 10,000 is a fantasy. However, Raditz would not know how firm Son Goku and Piccolo's beliefs would be. You guys who start giving up on yourself and saying it's impossible before you even try hard, stop being alarmist here. If you are afraid, just run away with your tail between your legs. Or, you can go back and surrender, and then you can invade the Earth together and see if we can defeat you. Piccolo's rebuttal was filled with the idea that I, Piccolo Daimao, will definitely become stronger to show you. Hearing this, Raditz's anger burst out uncontrollably. He thought that he was speaking very harmoniously and peacefully now, and this Namekian was just looking for death. It's you who can't recognize reality. How do you, who only live on Earth, know how big the difference in combat effectiveness is? Forget it, Talos. Your combat power is 5,000 points, you tell me. After saying this, Raditz closed his mouth and even reached out to slap his forehead to show how much pressure he was feeling. How big? After hearing what Raditz said, I also watched the entire process of the three people's argument. Lin Chuan, who ate melon the whole time, showed a smile. His goal has been achieved, so there is no need to hide it anymore. In the final analysis, the three people are still struggling with the 18,000 points of combat power at this time. 18,000 points, after the strength level really reaches the standard, is really nothing. Lin Chuan did not answer immediately, but all four people looked over, including Sun Wuhan, who was only 4 years old and as timid as a mouse. Seeing Lin Chuan's calmness and composure, Raditz, who originally wanted Lin Chuan to explain, suddenly felt numb. He even doubted that Lin Chuan would have the same thoughts as Kakarot, right? He felt that was simply unrealistic. Hey, you guys have to say something. They don't know, don't you? who has a combat power of 5,000 points, not know how terrifying a combat power of 18,000 points is? Even if you do have a trick, you should be afraid of Vegeta, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't take the initiative to destroy the detector. Raditz's hard talk seemed to want Lin Xuan to stand on the same front as him. Obviously, in his opinion, the Earth will be destroyed in 1 year, and if they continue to stay on the Earth, they will all be finished. And this is even more of a headache for Raditz now. The universe ship was destroyed by Kakarot's son. This also means that he can't leave the Earth. Even if Lin Xuan's universe ship is there, it's probably a one-person universe ship. How do you say that? As the words came to his lips, Lin Xuan's thoughts kept spinning. He looked at Raditz, then at Son Goku, Piccolo, and Son Gohan. Immediately afterwards, Lin Xuan took a few steps to one side. While walking, Lin Xuan also said, "One thing Raditz said is indeed right. A combat power of 18,000 points is not as simple as you think, nor is it so easy to surpass. Actually, for you, let alone surpassing 10,000 combat power points in the short term, even Nappa, whose combat power is only 4,000 points, is not something you can easily surpass. 1 year is indeed a long time, but it is also very short. Find a way to increase your strength to the highest level within an effective period of time. But according to my estimation, no matter how hard you try, you will only be able to improve your cultivation through ordinary means in the end. You can be on par with Nappa, unless you can discover a more amazing cultivation method." After saying this, Lin Xuan turned around and faced the 4 people. After listening to Lin Xuan's words, Son Goku and Piccolo made a calculation in their minds. In fact, they themselves also know that if they really want to exceed 10,000 combat points, or even exceed 18,000 points, that is nothing more than a fantasy. But they won't admit defeat. After all, they didn't do it. Who knows what the result will be? Raditz raised his head with an arrogant expression. Just when he was about to criticize Kakarot and Piccolo, Lin Xuan did not give him a chance. Just listen to Lin Xuan say again, "Of course, for you, let alone 18,000 combat power points, even Nappa with 4,000 combat power points is extremely terrifying. But for me, 18,000 points of combat power, is it very strong?" Lin Xuan said the ridiculing words, his eyes narrowed, and the unfathomable look on his face made several people stunned at the same time. Especially Raditz. He couldn't understand what Lin Xuan meant. "Wait, you mean your combat power is more than 5,000 points? You guy, can you also control your own combat power?" After saying that, Raditz opened his mouth, with a look of horror on his face that could not be concealed. Without hesitation, Lin Xuan took off the combat power detector he was wearing and threw it to Raditz. This thing can indeed detect a person's combat power index. However, the value is dead, but the person is alive. Once you learn how to control your own strength and breath changes, this thing will be useless. And from the beginning, I only slightly mobilized my aura, letting you see that my combat power reached 5,000 points. As he spoke, Lin Xuan's lips curled up in an evil way, and his confident and awe-inspiring look shocked everyone. Raditz stared at Lin Xuan. Son Goku and Piccolo on the side took a deep breath and tried hard to suppress the shock in their hearts. Isn't 5,000 points of combat power all he has? How strong is this guy? Listening to his tone, there is also disdain for 18,000 combat power points. I am afraid that it may exceed this value. Piccolo was suspicious in his heart. He vaguely realized that Lin Xuan's true strength level was far beyond their imagination. Even the so-called Vegeta was far from his opponent. Otherwise, knowing that the other party will attack in a year's time and showing insufficient strength, at least show a trace of nervousness. "So, you actually have the absolute strength to resist that Vegeta?" Son Goku asked with a trembling voice and a face full of expectation. If this is the case, then the crisis on the Earth can be solved. To be honest, today he really opened his eyes. There were so many emotions in his heart that he couldn't even count them. It can be said that it is a mixture of 5 flavors that is difficult to describe. No, I don't believe it. No matter how powerful you are, there is no way you can compare to Vegeta. If you are confident that you can surpass Vegeta, Then why are you afraid that Vegeta will hear the news about the Dragon Balls and destroy my combat power detector? At this time, Raditz's eyes changed again and again when he looked at Lin Chuan. Unknowingly, a special fear surged into my heart. I didn't say that I was afraid that Vegeta and the others would come to Earth after hearing the news, so I destroyed the detector. I only said that it would be inevitable for them to come to Earth. Raditz, you are a smart person, so you should know that your combat power detector can be monitored by Vegeta, then your detector may be monitored by Frieza. Unlike the combat power detector I gave you, your detector should be bound, right? After giving Raditz a reminder, Lin Chuan said no more. You mean hiss. For a moment, it was like falling into an ice cellar, and Raditz's body began to tremble. If Lin Chuan's prediction is correct, then their every move is being monitored. If Frieza really gets the news, it will be a different story. The Science, even Vegeta with a combat power of 18,000 points, could only grovel in front of Frieza. Raditz was glad that Lin Chuan could react immediately. He didn't know, not even Lin Chuan knew, that the news had been passed on, and Frieza was already heading towards Earth. However, according to the plot, Frieza will definitely not be able to reach Earth smoothly. When the time comes, Frieza will learn that the Dragon Balls were created by the Namekians because of the information collected by Vegeta on Earth, so he will change his target midway to the Namek planet. Son Goku and Piccolo did not fully understand the cryptic communication between Lin Chuan and Raditz. But Piccolo and Son Goku were not stupid. They immediately realized that besides Vegeta, there were other beings who might also be eyeing the Earth. And that existence should be the Frieza I heard several times. It's a weird, hard-to-imagine name. The exact information summarized from the words heard is that Raditz and the others belong to the so-called Frieza Legion, and this Frieza should be the leader. Brother, there's Tatalo, forget it. I'd rather call you Lin Chuan. Who is that Frieza you were talking about? Seeing how cautious you are, could it be that that guy's combat power is higher than 18,000 points? Son Goku couldn't help but ask. Only outspoken people are eager to know the truth. If it were someone else, they would not ask so directly, but would wait for Lin Chuan and Raditz to take the initiative to tell them, just like Piccolo. Piccolo is more stable than Son Goku. He knows that neither of them can fully react to the current situation. At this time, it is easy to lose oneself when it involves a wider field. But Son Goku asked, Piccolo couldn't possibly pretend he didn't hear and didn't care. 18,000 points, huh? Kakarot, you have to know that although we Scions claim to be a fighting nation in the universe, we always think of ourselves as a superior race. However, in front of the truly terrifying emperor of the universe, even ants are considered not on. The universe is too big. Not to mention our strength, even our Prince Vegeta, who is said to be the most talented warrior in the history of Science, has a combat power of up to 18,000 points. He is not even considered an elite in front of King Frieza. It can only be regarded as dispensable. You on Earth are like frogs in a well, unable to understand. The directness of Raditz's answer once again shocked Son Goku and Piccolo. You, Emperor of the Universe? A combat power of 18,000 points is just a little guy? Where can I imagine Son Goku and Piccolo? This simply subverted the worldview they had just established. I originally thought that Vegeta with 18,000 points was already an extremely powerful person. Now the person they thought was a peerless strongman was not even considered an elite in front of the Emperor of the Universe. Can you imagine the horror? Even you are somewhat self-aware, but you can easily expand the imaginable horror 100 times, 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times. Raditz glanced at Son Goku and Piccolo with disdain. At this time, he could only gain a sense of presence in front of them by knowing more. Lin Chuan laughed at the side and said, Actually, you don't need to scare them like this. Frieza is indeed scary, but not to the level you said. As soon as the words came out, Raditz felt dizzy. He was going crazy. If Lin Chuan had concealed his true combat power before, he would still be willing to believe it, but he could not accept Frieza's comments like this. Are you crazy? Do you know what you are talking about? That's Frieza. Looking at Lin Chuan, Raditz wanted Lin Chuan's answer. Son Goku and Piccolo looked at Lin Chuan again. At this time, they are like two bottles on the sea. They can only drift with the tide. Given your position, you naturally know a lot. But at the same time, your vision also limits you. As the Emperor of the Universe, Frieza is indeed powerful, but you only know that he is powerful, but you don't know how strong he is? So, you just think that he is an unbeatable existence. I can tell you now, Frieza's combat index? After saying that, Lin Xuan paused. It's too early to talk about Frieza's information now. But now that it's mentioned, it's unavoidable. Anyway, not to mention that Frieza can transform. It only depends on his ultimate combat power. In this way, perhaps the Son Goku and Piccolo of this era, and even the Z warriors, can see further, improve their strength faster, and become stronger. Just imagine what Vegeta and Nappa's expressions will be like when they come to Earth a year later and see that the strength of the Z warriors generally exceeds 10,000, or even tens of thousands. Lin Xuan is looking forward to Vegeta and Nappa who are mentally broken. You said you knew Frieza's combat power? Even Vegeta didn't know about such a confidential matter. How did you know about it? Raditz asked. Suspect? No. He felt that Lin Xuan should not lie to others, otherwise, the communication would not be like this. How do I know? Is this important? As far as I know, Frieza's combat power should be 530,000 points. After saying that, the teasing in Lin Xuan's eyes became even heavier. 530,000 points. For any existence in this era, it is an astronomical value. Whether it is the Z warriors of Earth or Vegeta with a combat power of 18,000 points, it is unimaginable. Raditz's mind went blank, and Son Goku and Piccolo's eyes widened and their mouths opened wide. This is the Emperor of the Universe. Lin Xuan was very satisfied with the changes in their expressions. After all, they couldn't look up to them now with a combat power of several thousand points, let alone 530,000. From 1,500 points, to the 5,000 points that Lin Xuan showed before, to 18,000 points, and finally to 530,000 points. The worldview collapsed and then was established and then collapsed. This went back and forth 3 or 4 times. If the people present were not all combat-oriented warriors with extremely strong receptive abilities, they would probably be frightened out of their wits. Frankly speaking, if Lin Xuan was not a time traveler and knew the plot of the original work, even if he continued to practice and became strong enough, he would be shocked by this value. After all, you have fought hard for decades and only have a fighting strength of tens of thousands. How can you compare with a fighting strength of hundreds of thousands? When an egg hits a stone, it breaks into pieces. Of course, even Lin Xuan now would be afraid if he really faced Frieza. You can only avoid the edge temporarily and hide yourself. In any case, his current combat power is only close to 20,000 points. Even Dodoria and Sabo beside Frieza can torture him to death. Fortunately, he also has enough time to practice and become stronger, and he also has an unlimited combat power improvement system. He really can't face Frieza now, but a year later, Lin Xuan will have absolute confidence to crush Frieza. At the same time, the god of the heavenly temple, who has been monitoring the situation here, turned purple and was breathing extremely heavily. In this short period of time, he heard too many unimaginable things. As a god, he also realized that he was completely eliminated by the times. Originally, God Piccolo thought that even if the stronger scion arrived on Earth, Piccolo's grandson Goku and the others might be able to fight with the help of his arrangements after a year of hard training. Even if he is defeated, he has a last resort, voluntarily assimilating with Piccolo and helping Piccolo become complete to improve his strength. But now, the Universe Emperor has appeared. Even if all the trump cards are revealed, can it be compared? Their combat value is only a few hundred points. A combat power of several thousand is unimaginable, and a combat power of tens of thousands is a luxury. Hundreds of thousands of combat forces? It's simply indescribable. Boom! Just when the scene was so quiet that there was no other sound except the wind. Suddenly, a wave of sound exploded from the horizon and came. The sudden sound attracted everyone's attention, and they shifted their gaze and looked over. Now, they are worried about being unable to get rid of the depressing atmosphere. If an outsider intervenes, the topic can be temporarily transferred. In the distant sky, a very fast beige jet was seen breaking through the clouds and mists, speeding towards this side. On this jet, there is a special logo engraved on it, which should be known to everyone on Earth, because this is the unique logo of Magnum Capsule Company. Tisich, the unsightly Earthlings are here. We can't stay here any longer. Taros, my universe ship has been destroyed. Is your universe ship still there? Raditz naturally had no idea who the visitor was. He just felt upset now and wanted to find a place to quietly think about life. In addition, he also needs to figure out one thing, that is, if the Dragon Balls can grant wishes, can all wishes come true, and are they true or false? If it were true, he would really want to fight for it. After all, who wouldn't have a wish? I'm sorry to tell you that although the universe ship I boarded was not completely broken, it was damaged due to this universe voyage. If you want to use my universe ship to escape from the Earth, you can put away this idea. Giving Raditz an accurate answer, Lin Xuan's eyes remained focused on the jet. It's Bulma, Krillin, and Teacher Wu Yin. Through breath perception, Son Goku quickly knew who the visitor was and said aloud. Of course, without him having to say anything, Lin Xuan could guess that the three auras in the jet must be Bulma, Kame Sennin, and Krillin. The plot of the original book is that they are worried about the situation here, so Bulma brings Kame San and Krillin to help. According to the original trajectory, when they arrived, Son Goku should be on the verge of death, and Raditz was already dead. Now, the situation is completely different from the original work. After Raditz knew that the person who came was an acquaintance of his younger brother, and seeing that Lin Xuan didn't take any action, he simply calmed down and made a new plan. In this unfamiliar place on Earth, he only knew Kakarot, Kakarot's son, Lin Xuan, and Piccolo. Piccolo was naturally ignored by him because he was not a scion. If he wants to live on Earth in the future, he must stay close to Lin Xuan and Kakarot. After all, he doesn't know how to make himself stronger. The only one who can help him increase his strength is Lin Xuan. Boom! As the jet landed, it stirred up a puff of dust. Klin and Kame Sennin got off the jet first, with solemn expressions on their faces. Finally, there was Bulma, who was hiding behind in fear, looking at the current situation. Immediately, the three arriving people noticed Lin Xuan. Because this person was someone they had never seen before, and he was wearing a combat uniform similar to Raditz, they immediately concluded that this was a scion who was with Raditz. The aura of this scion seems calm and ordinary, but it also reveals an unfathomable terror. It is much more terrifying than that Raditz. Now, what is the situation? Is the battle over? Or, Kame Sennin, with his keen insight, kept making guesses in his mind. Not sure what the situation was, he couldn't make a conclusion and couldn't completely relax. Goku, Gohan, and Piccolo, it's great that you are all okay. Has the enemy changed from 1 to 2? Teacher Wooten and I are here to help you. Krillin mistakenly thought that the battle before it was over. He decisively stepped forward and stood next to Son Goku. Looking at the posture, it looks like a fight to the death. They had already made up their minds before coming here. If they really needed to die to save the Earth, Krillin and Kame Sennin would not look back. Seeing this, Raditz first sneered, confirming that the three people who came were all Earthlings he had seen before, and then hearing the words of the little bald Klin, he couldn't help teasing him. What an ignorant Earthling! That tail didn't knock you apart before, but you still dared to come in front of me and talk nonsense. Let me see. The combat power is 206 points. How dare you make such a noise with a mere 200 points of combat power? Such contemptuous words made Klin furious and gritted his teeth. It was just that he was angry, and Klin really didn't dare to do anything. As Raditz said, his combat power is so low that even Goku and Piccolo can't take advantage of him. So how can he be an opponent? Raditz was delighted to see this kind of anger that he dared not speak out, and his expression became even more violent, which gave Klin a strong sense of oppression and even caused dense beads of sweat to break out on his head. Okay, brother, stop threatening Klin. Although Klin's strength is indeed not as good as yours, he is not as unbearable as you say. Son Goku stood up to clear Klin's name. The senior brother who grew up together since childhood, Klin can be said to be his most important partner. Even before the era of the big universe, Klin could be said to be the person he cherished the most. As the saying goes, Klin sacrifices to heaven, and his magic power is boundless. If Raditz killed Krillin, Son Goku might actually explode and kill Raditz. The most classic sacrifice to the sky in the original work, Krillin was killed by Frieza, and Son Goku transformed directly into a Super Saiyan. Tease. Raditz spat disdainfully, turned around and said nothing more. He also didn't want to get too involved with the Earth Ants. At this time, Krillin was confused. Not only Krillin, Kame-san and Bulma were also dumbfounded. It was obvious that the conversation between the two parties and the current situation made them incredible. Isn't it a fight to the death? Isn't it a battle to defend the Earth? Why did you call me brother? Raditz obviously listened. And what's that look in Piccolo's face? Klin's head was full of questions and his eyes were on Son Goku, wanting to get the answer. The same goes for Kame-san and Bulma. Here's the thing. After a few minutes, under the joint explanation of Son Goku and Piccolo, the three finally understood. To summarize 2 points. First, Raditz is no longer their enemy and has turned from darkness to light. The other Saiyan named Lin Chuan Taros is currently on their side. Secondly, in 1 year there will be 2 Saions coming to Earth who are more than 10 times and 20 times more powerful than Raditz. Goku. So, those 2 Saions a year later came for the Dragon Balls? And they must be enemies? In a simple combat power index, according to the description, Klin was so frightened by the 18,000 combat power points that he could not speak clearly. Raditz's 1,500 combat power points are terrifying enough. Isn't this going to destroy the Earth? It's okay, Klin. Don't we still have a year to practice? At that time, I will definitely be stronger than now. Moreover, even if I can't beat them then, Lin Chuan's strength can definitely defeat that Vegeta. Son Goku said and turned his eyes. Everyone's attention fell on Lin Chuan again. Everyone looked at Lin Chuan with so eager eyes, as if they wanted to get Lin Chuan's affirmative answer. Only Bulma's eyes were different from the others, and had another meaning. Lin Chuan couldn't help but chuckle when he noticed that everyone's eyes were focused again, and this time Bulma, Krillin, and Kame-san were also included. This is when the home court has shifted back to itself. To be honest, Son Goku completely regarded him as his backer, which Lin Chuan did not expect. After all, even if he showed strength and goodwill, and told them so much information, he had only just arrived on Earth. How should I put it? Although this is what he wants to see, Lin Chuan is obviously somewhat resistant. This resistance comes from being used. Because Son Goku's approach does not really trust him, but because they are not enemies now. So people want to use him to stabilize the overall situation. To say that the early Son Goku had an average IQ and could not use his brain at all? This is bullshit. The smile that seemed to be intentional or unintentional, and the eyes were clear, but the thoughts were clear. You have said so. I can promise you that you will not watch the Earth being destroyed without taking action. At any rate, this planet does have what I need, and the environment is good and suitable for habitation. However, don't pray that I will directly suppress Vegeta and the others. If we are really defeated in a year, I will protect the Earth from destruction by then. This is the condition for me to borrow the Earth Dragon Balls and temporarily live on the Earth. How? After the words fell, Lin Chuan also circled back to borrowing the Dragon Ball. Since it was being used, Lin Chuan naturally had to make his position clear. As soon as these words came out, it was regarded as complying with Son Goku's words. Your words are enough. The Dragon Balls can be used by you, but you cannot wish for immortality or harm the world. Otherwise, no matter what, we won't help you find the Dragon Ball. Son Goku puts the ugly words first. He had long realized that Lin Chuan would mention this, but he had changed the story before because of the information about Vegeta and Frieza. It is inevitable to come back now. Call him smart. He is indeed smart, but he is also a bit stupid. What he said was so clear. If Lin Chuan acted like him and directly went back on his word when he made a wish, what could he do? Son Goku should be glad that he is really not an enemy and would not make that wish. Don't worry, that kind of wish has no temptation for me. Besides, I think the Dragon Balls on Earth also have their own limits, right? Once they exceed their capabilities, there is no way to realize them. Nodding in agreement, Lin Chuan took the opportunity to look at Piccolo said, Actually, I was a little curious about how the Dragon Balls that grant wishes on Earth came from before. Now that I see you, a Namekian, I know it. You should have created the Dragon Balls, right? It is rumored that the Namekians have many strange powers. Your ability to restore limbs is one of them, and making Dragon Balls is also one of them. After saying that, Lin Xuan narrowed his eyes. I said this deliberately to let Namek take the stage first, and at the same time make everyone here realize that there are Dragon Balls on Namek. What you said is indeed true, but it's also wrong. I didn't create Dragon Ball. The field I'm good at is fighting. Looking at Lin Xuan, Piccolo's answer was very direct and unruly. Even though his strength is not good, Piccolo Daimao's pride is still there. Really? It seems that you are a fighting Namekian. However, your strength is indeed a bit weak, because the combat power of normal fighting Namekians is generally above 2,000 points. Lin Xuan said. He himself had forgotten whether this value was accurate, but according to the development of the plot, the combat-type Namekians had the combat power to kill senior soldiers of Frieza's legion, and they could also control their own power to explode instantly. In my memory, there was a Namekian named Nailu who was deeply impressed, because he was the first being on Namek to confront Frieza head-on. The combat power is as high as 42,000 points. After hearing what Lin Xuan said, the group of people became uneasy again, especially Krillin, Kame Sennin and Bulma, who had just arrived and understood part of the situation. Who would have thought that Piccolo is also an alien? According to the news that the combat power of the combat-type Namekians is generally above 2,000 points, doesn't this mean that Piccolo Daimao can only run wild on the Earth, and he will be a scumbag when he returns to the Namek planet? Piccolo clenched his fists, feeling resentful and unwilling to do so. Think about it. Those tribesmen who have never seen each other have more than 2,000 combat power points. What about him? With the help of the magic-piercing light-killing cannon to transcend the limit, it is less than 1,500 points. Looking back now, it is true that Master Tianxian told me when he was guiding me in my practice. Piccolo, you were a very powerful existence before you were separated from Master Tianxian. If you change back to a human, your strength may suddenly improve by leaps and bounds, and it is not impossible to have a combat power of more than a few thousand points. Son Goku said suddenly. This is considered a secret. No one on Earth knows the details except the gods Piccolo, Bobo, Son Goku, and Piccolo. Humph. Stop making up your mind about me. Do you think I'm the kind of person who can get close to you? Son Goku. Don't think that you are your friend just because I fought side by side with you once. I'm still Piccolo Daimao. When the time comes to defeat those two Saiyans, it will be your turn, Piccolo said harshly. At that moment, he no longer hesitated. After looking at everyone present one by one, he finally soared into the sky. Piccolo is gone. No one stopped this situation. Lin Xuan was immediately stunned. By the way, did Piccolo forget to take someone away? My eyes couldn't help but stay on Sun Wuhan for a while. Without Piccolo's teachings, would Sun Wuhan still be like the original? What the hell? I've been fooling around for a long time, and it seems that the most important part of the plot has been fooled. Without Sun Wuhan, would Piccolo still be able to change as quickly as the original? Just about to say something else. At this moment, Son Goku suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky in the distance. He exclaimed, Lord God, it turns out that you have been watching this situation here. Son Goku's sudden words shocked everyone present, including Lin Xuan. Although he knew the development of the plot and knew that the gods had this ability, he did not expect to intervene at this time. No one interrupted the communication between Son Goku and the god. After a long time, Son Goku looked surprised and spoke. Just now, Lord God used sound transmission to communicate with me. He wanted us to go to the God of Heaven together. He has the important things should be said to us face to face. Similarly, I also invited you and Lin Xuan, Big Brother. He said that although you are scions from an alien planet, since you have turned enemies into friends, and you will also live on the Earth in the future, I hope you can go together. The most important thing for the Heavenly Temple is to practice together and fight against the enemies that will come in 1 year. As Son Goku conveyed the words of the god, the atmosphere changed again. It is no longer as serious as before, nor as solemn. Perhaps everything has been explained clearly, and everyone has understood what is going on now. So after broadening their horizons, even though the gods have appeared now, they can no longer shock the people present. Of course, one person is still in the clouds. This person is naturally Raditz. The title of God made him dumbfounded. The word God is too broad. Kakarot, are you serious? God. Is there such a thing as a legendary god on a planet like Earth? Raditz asked urgently. At this time, thinking back to the previous conversation between Kakarot and Piccolo, his brain cells began to burn. Finally, we came to the conclusion that the Namekian and the so-called god were originally one body, but for some reason they became two people. In other words, that god is also a Namekian? Raditz was a little numb. He found that what he saw and heard today had subverted his imagination. Now a Namekian god appeared? What does this mean? After all, this setting is just like a bug in this world. God is the god of a planet. Moreover, not every planet has the existence of gods. Only special planets have the birth of gods. Otherwise, there would be countless gods among the countless planets in the Dragon Ball world. It can only be said that whether a planet will have the birth of a god depends on the development history of the planet, the life conditions of the planet, and finally, of course, whether it has the inheritance of gods. According to alien forces, the Earth is very small. But the Earth is not big, but it is involved in all fields. Not only is there a place connected to the underworld, but there are also people on duty in the underworld. Even the Earth is connected to many special planes, even areas like the demon world, all bordering. There are indeed gods on our Earth. However, I don't know how they are different from the gods in your imagination, brother. Son Goku nodded and replied. Immediately afterwards, no matter how shocked Raditz was, he looked at Krillin, came Sento, and Bulma on the side. At this time, before he could take the initiative to speak, Klin and Turtle Immortal were already sighing with emotion. Unexpectedly, Lord God already knows the current situation? So, does he also want to guide us in our practice? Kling said with some excitement. In the early years, Goku practiced under the guidance of the gods, and his strength increased dramatically. Although times are different now, in his eyes, gods are still gods and they are superior. Since Tenjin-sama has already made a plan, let's go together. It's a pity that Yamcha and Tianjin-fan have disappeared. Otherwise, Kamizenran said, unable to bear it. Zhu sighed. Both are martial arts masters and warriors who protect the earth. At this time, Yamcha and Tianjin-fan are also worthy of great responsibilities in the eyes of Kame Sennin. At least it's better than this old man. The ship of time is still moving forward, but he clearly knows that he has already disembarked. Even if we get on the boat at this time, it will be too late. Speaking of which, I wanted to ask before, but was interrupted by the sudden arrival of my eldest brother. As for Tianjin-fan, according to his character, he should be traveling around the world to practice, right? Where is Yamcha? Does Bulma know? Is there any way to contact him now? Here. Son Goku muttered, and suddenly looked at Bulma. Among their group, Bulma has been with Yamcha. He originally thought that he could see Yamcha this time when he went to the Turtle Fairy House, but unexpectedly he only saw Bulma. Forget it. I don't know whether that guy is dead or alive. Hada. Hearing Son Goku's questioning, Bulma snorted and turned away. The eldest lady's temper broke out, and she looked like it was of no use to anyone. When the situation has developed to this point, she can actually put aside the small things in the past. Perhaps because the plot was changed by Lin Xuan, Son Goku did not die, and the current situation is not particularly bad. So Bulma did not put aside her little emotions to inform Yamcha like in the original work. In Lin Xuan's eyes, this situation was an opportunity. In the early stages of the Dragon Ball plot, Bulma has been in a relationship with Yamcha that is not a love affair. Due to various factors, the relationship between the two was first love, but not like first love. So their relationship was completely different from that of ordinary couples. In the final analysis, they are just two most inappropriate people, but they came together by accident. And this love lasted for more than 10 years. Others don't know, but as a time traveler, how could Lin Xuan not know the inside story? In fact, it was inner trouble that caused Bulma to be reluctant to leave her. She was always giving Yamcha a chance to change her ways, and she was also waiting for Yamcha to turn around. After all, Bulma in the early days was so innocent that she just wanted to find a Prince Charming who was strong, handsome, and caring and protective of her. Yamcha was the first capable and good-looking man to appear beside her. After he became her boyfriend, she decided that this was the man she wanted to spend her whole life with. Therefore, even though she suffered betrayal from Yamcha several times, she finally gave Yamcha a chance. But as a result, Yamcha got worse and worse again and again, and then completely transformed into a playboy. Calculating Yamcha's life, he never got a wife and had children until the end, and even his life was extremely bleak. Talking about the relationship, Yamcha was also the first Z warrior to be eliminated. After the Super Era, he was even forgotten. Son Goku would rather choose the Kame Sennin Ginseng and Power Tournament and never thought about letting him participate. In fact, if Yamcha really had some brains, or was a man, restrained his temper a little, and worked harder, Bulma would never be snatched away by Vegeta. For Bulma, she will not change easily. After more than 10 years of inner struggle, she finally became completely disappointed with Yamcha. Later, the fateful Vegeta appeared in her life. According to this situation, the relationship between Bulma and Yamcha has completely broken down at this time, right? If it hadn't been for the death of Son Goku in the original work, I'm afraid Yamcha would never have the chance to get Bulma's forgiveness. Speaking of which, it was also at this time that the relationship between Yamcha and Bulma became strangers. After all, even if Bulma forgave Yamcha, they would have to be separated for nearly 2 years due to the Saiyan invasion and Yamcha's death. Lin Xuan thought secretly in his heart and made a criticism. Recalling the plot of the original work, is Yamcha miserable? Sad indeed. But he did find it himself. Those who are weak in strength but eager to express themselves will always be the first to be frustrated in the end. In this case, we have to go first. As for Tianjin Fan and Yamcha, we will find a way to contact them after meeting Lord Tianjin. Son Goku said, "There is no way to summon the companions from the past in a short period of time, and this is the only way now. Wait until the next direction is determined and then find a way to inform you." In Son Goku's view, whether it is Tianjin Fan or Yamcha, he is still someone he can rely on at this time. Unlike after the era of the Big Universe, when the era of artificial humans came on Earth, everyone except the Saiyans, including Piccolo, were gradually eliminated. Even if Son Goku wanted to rely on him, he couldn't rely on him. This was also a turning point in a real sense. From then on, the Saiyan family became the dominant one. In fact, is it true that people on Earth or other stars are inferior to Saiyans? This is certainly true in the case of transformation. But if they had the same opportunities, training methods, and no cheats like transformation, other Z warriors would not be any worse. Just like when Son Goku went to King Kai to practice for the first time, the warriors of the Earth simply relied on the training that Son Goku had done, and their combat power exceeded 1,000 points, reaching nearly 2,000 points. Piccolo even used the help of his own training has reached more than 3,000 points of combat effectiveness. Besides, Son Goku learned Kaioken and Vitality Bombs under the guidance of King Kai and practiced under 10 times gravity, increasing his combat power to 8,000 points. The Tianjin Rice, Dumplings, Yamcha, Piccolo, and others who went there later, no matter who they were, their combat strength exceeded 10,000 in a short period of time, and even reached the level of tens of thousands. Even the Jinyu Special Forces members who died were all killed. They beat hard. All in all, it's not that the qualifications are not enough, but that there are not enough opportunities, and the protagonist's halo is too bright. Thinking about the later eras, after the Saiyans became the main fighting force, they continued to advance in transformation. The warriors who were not Saiyans had no transformation or new development. Even Piccolo, who had assimilated with the gods, was completely eliminated. Thinking of this, as a time traveler, Lin Xuan deeply understood everything, but he could only sigh. After all, he was a Saiyan in this life, and his primary goal in the future is to become a Super Saiyan. Tisich, Kakarot, why don't you ask my opinion? Do you want to go? Raditz suddenly shouted, interrupting Son Goku's train of thought. At the same time, Son Goku was embarrassed for a while. He really didn't ask other people's opinions, he just thought about himself and wanted everyone to go together. Others looked at Raditz cautiously, fearing that this guy would do something wrong again. For Krillin, came Sinto and Bulma. Raditz is an intruder. Even if they are in this situation now and have turned enemies into friends, they still have instinctive conflicts. Just like with Piccolo. Even though Piccolo has joined forces with Son Goku to attack at this time, the fear that Piccolo once brought will not dissipate easily. In the original work, this grudge was not completely eliminated until a year later. Therefore, in the final analysis, we still have to stand on the same front, cooperate with each other, and understand each other to resolve grievances. Brother, don't you also want to become stronger? If you go, you can get the guidance of Master Tianshin to practice. The strength I have now is the result of practice along the way, plus the guidance of Master Tianshin a few years ago. Son Goku's IQ is indeed a bit higher than expected. I know how to use cultivation to deceive this big brother who I just met. Himph. You mean, the so-called Namekian god can guide me to become stronger? Stop joking. With a combat power of less than 1,000 points, what is there to say? Raditz said he was tough verbally, but he actually accepted it in his heart. He didn't give Son Goku a chance to refute. He turned his attention to Lin Chuan and asked, Talos, what do you mean? All eyes were once again focused on Lin Chuan. I don't care, but after hearing so many words, I'm quite interested. What's the harm in meeting him? Maybe it's really good. Lin Chuan said while keeping a smile. With his words, Raditz no longer hesitated. It is equivalent to walking down the steps and directly saying, then take a walk. Son Goku and others nodded to each other after hearing this. Raditz and Lin Chuan both agreed, so there was nothing else to worry about. Bulma, I leave Gohan to you. Taking your aircraft will allow him to have a good rest. This kid is also tired. Son Goku said as he handed Son Gohan to Bulma. He has somersault clouds, can perform aerial dance, and can fly by himself. Of course he can take his son with him, but due to the injuries he suffered in the previous battle and the fact that the child is still young, it is better to be more stable. Facts have proved that Son Goku at this time is not only thinking about himself, he is also considering everything comprehensively. Don't worry, leave it to me. Besides, if they all go, I will also have to send Klin and Teacher Wu Tian there. However, my aircraft may not be able to fly to the temple where the gods live. At most, it can only be sent to Kalen Tower. Bulma took Sun Wuhan's little hand and said at the same time. Little Gohan had no objection to Bulma, so he didn't make any fuss. Klin and Kame Sinto laughed sheepishly. One of them is a martial arts master, but he doesn't even know how to dance in the air. One is good at flying, but he is not proficient in it at all. He has not practiced flying much in these years. After arriving at Kalen Tower, God will arrange for Mr. Popo to come down and pick us up. After saying this, Son Goku summoned his somersault cloud. It should be said that in this era, the strength of Z warriors has just begun. Even Son Goku did not realize the importance of Wukong Jutsu. It was not until the Saiyan invasion that everyone began to practice this skill seriously. That's all. Led by Son Goku and Bulma's aircraft, Lin Chuan and Raditz followed closely and headed to the location of the Earth Temple. Along the way, Raditz often complained about the slow speed. There's nothing we can do about it. It's not that Son Goku can't be fast, but that Bulma's Earth aircraft is not advanced yet, so its speed is average. Speaking of which, in fact, for people on Earth, it is already extraordinary that civilian aircraft can break the speed of sound. Just comparing it to a strong person who can run thousands of meters or tens of thousands of meters per second, it is naturally slower. Speaking of which, how high is your combat power? What you said is clear and logical, and you have so much information, but you haven't revealed your true strength. I don't know why he suddenly thought of this. Raditz he didn't hide it and asked directly. During the flight, the distance between the two was very close, so Lin Chuan could hear clearly. Want to know how powerful he is in combat? Lin Chuan couldn't help but smile. You will know later. At least, he is much stronger than that guy Vegeta. Lin Chuan didn't go too far. At this moment, he realized what stage the combat power value had reached and opened the system plugin panel. Host, Lin Chuan. Age, 25. Height, 185 cm/weight, 75 kilograms. Combat power index, 19,450 points. The current level of the system, Level 1, automatically hanging up, combat power plus 1 per second. I remember that before, it only exceeded 18,000 points. As time goes by, it is now only 550 points away from breaking through 20,000 combat points. 550 points, which means that in just 9 minutes, he can reach the next level. Time passes little by little. For Raditz, he was getting more and more impatient. The speed was too slow, and he didn't know how far the destination was. He couldn't do anything but follow. His lack of patience and eagerness for success were also caused by the pressure in his life over the years. Of course, with Lin Chuan here, even if Raditz was unhappy, he could only endure it. No one said anything. What could he do? Not to mention anything else, he now regards Lin Chuan as the only way for him to become stronger. If any god can guide him to practice and become stronger, he thinks that is impossible. What if a god of earth is really a god? If he was really awesome, then Kakarot would not be what he is now, and he would not even have 1,000 combat power. Lin Chuan is different. Everyone admits that he is stronger than Vegeta, so there is no need to worry about how strong he is. It would be even more promising to be able to double his combat effectiveness in a short period of time with his help, or even increase it to 3,000 to 5,000 points in a year. Crossing the plains, crossing a sea, until entering the primeval forest with lush vegetation. Time, counting from the time of departure, has passed for more than half an hour. The reason why Lin Chuan was not impatient was that he also took advantage of this time to experience the increase in strength brought by the unlimited combat power improvement system. Combat power plus 1 per second. Although after seeing too much, phantoms appeared in his eyes and he became a little numb. But the growth of one's own strength will increase to a level every few minutes, which is really enjoyable. Today, Lin Chuan's combat power index has reached 21,675 points. In just over 37 minutes, the combat power increased by 2225 points. It can be said that after exceeding 20,000 combat power points, Lin Chuan felt a broader field. His combat power used to hover around 15,000 points, and it was always difficult to make any progress. Compared with now, it was just like the sky and the earth. No wonder, in the original work, Dodoria's 22,000 combat power points are enough to crush Vegeta and Xiao-Yi, who have 18,000 combat power points. Now Lin Chuan just feels that the current self can ravage the previous self with a combat power of 18,000 points. Not to mention the strength it had at 15,000 points in the past. Brother, there's Lin Chuan. We're here. Son Goku's voice sounded. The speed that was originally flying at a rapid speed dropped sharply again. Looking around, deep in the endless forest, there is a stone pillar towering up to the sky. There is no doubt that this is the Kalinta of Earth. When Dragon Ball appeared in the early stages of the plot, it was so incredible and mysterious. But later, he no longer appeared on the screen and was forgotten by many people. Everyone's impression of Kalin Tower rests on the fairy beans of the cat fairy on the top of the tower. To be honest, the existence of Kalin Tower was originally set up as a way for martial artists to hone their strength and practice. One after another, Lin Chuan didn't say anything. Raditz couldn't wait to shout out, "Have we finally arrived? This is the so-called god?" Don't be kidding, Kakarot. Aren't you talking about the Namekians? This Earthling's combat power is only 50 points. No, brother. The gods are temples that live on the clouds. This is the warrior who protects the holy land of Kalinta, named Bra. Son Goku stood up and explained, "I really miss it. Speaking of it, I have been missing it for many years. No more coming here." Afterwards, he greeted Bra and the protectors of the Holy Land. After revealing their identity and situation, Bra and the others obviously lowered their guard. After all, in their minds, Son Goku is the brave man who successfully challenged Kalinta. He also accepted God's call and became God's messenger a few years ago. Revisiting the old place, not only Son Goku, but also Krillin and Kame Sennin were full of emotions. Especially Turtle Immortal, when he thought about what he did when he was young at the top of the tower, he couldn't help but blush and felt extremely embarrassed. I just hope that when I see the god this time, I won't be reminded of these embarrassing things. Are you waiting here now for Mr. Popo to come down and pick us up? Goku. Klin stood next to Son Goku and asked. He was still somewhat worried, his eyes constantly wandering over Lin Chuan and Raditz. His character was like this. Son Goku understood it, but he didn't take it seriously and said, "No need to worry about Klin. In addition, Lord Tenjin has sensed our arrival just now, so Mr. Popo will be down soon. By the way, speaking of which, during the last martial arts competition, Klin, did you tell me that you challenged Kalen Tower and succeeded?" Son Goku's sudden question made Klin a little angry. "What? You really don't listen to people, and you answered me seriously at that time. Not only me, but also Tianjin Rice, Dumplings, and Yamcha all succeeded in the challenge, and we all also met the Karen Immortal on the top of the tower." Klin rolled his eyes and said. Such an answer made Son Goku scratch his head and laugh in embarrassment. Son Goku's idea is that if he remembers wrongly and Klin has not challenged Kalen Tower, then he can give it a try. After all, this is a good practice. But now that it's successful, that's another matter. In fact, with Klin's current strength, it is indeed not difficult to challenge this. After all, he has more than 200 combat power points, and that's not all Klin has. The waiting time didn't last long. In less than 2 minutes, a shadow appeared in the sky. It was Bobo who appeared controlling the magic carpet and quickly descended to the ground. Fight, combat power, 1030 points. The first person to speak was Raditz again. The moment Bobo arrived in front of him, the combat power detector on his head reported Bobo's combat power value, which directly subverted Raditz's cognition. There are actually people on Earth, a lower-level planet, whose combat power exceeds 1,000 points. For a time, he began to be suspicious of the gods above. Before, I seemed to have underestimated the other party. As soon as he said these words, everyone except Lin Chuan was shocked. Bobo's combat power is as high as 1030 points. What is this concept? Son Goku's combat power is only a few hundred points. He can break through 1,000 points at full power, but that's only for a short period of time. Is this true? Mr. Popo, you actually have such powerful fighting power? Son Goku asked in surprise. In this regard, Bobo did not have any emotional fluctuations. Bobo doesn't know. It turns out that Bobo's combat power is more than 1,000 points. This kind of performance is really in line with Bobo's setting. Lin Chuan saw this and narrowed his eyes slightly. He clearly remembers Bobo's famous scenes in the future. It was the era of the Majin Buu chapter, and Bobo easily withstood the combined efforts of 2 Super Saiyans, Son Goten and Trunks. Although the 2 brats didn't mean anything at that time, and they didn't mean to hurt anyone, but despite this, it can be seen how high Bobo's cultivation level is. Because Bobo's combat power exceeded 1,000 points, everyone except Lin Chuan made some shocked remarks. After sighing with emotion, Son Goku, Krillin, and even Kame Sennin all had a high respect for Bobo. This was impossible before. At most, it was because he was a servant of the gods and had some strength, so he was just polite on the surface. Even Bulma had put aside her inner grudge against Bobo's appearance at this moment and felt a little strange about Bobo. This strange feeling is not disgusting, but she wants to try to maintain a relationship with this black man in the future. Maybe he can become her supporter. It should be said that Bulma is very smart, and she has always been very discerning. In the original work, she came into contact with Bobo because she was looking for the God Piccolo's universe ship. At the beginning, she was very resistant. Later, after knowing how useful Bobo was, he immediately started to win over him in various ways. If it weren't for the fact that Bobo couldn't leave the Earth as a servant of the gods, she would definitely have dragged Bobo to the planet Namek in the original work. Besides, Bulma's ability to recognize people is even more remarkable in the era of Dragon Ball Super plots. She used her IQ and communication skills to establish a good relationship with Angel Weiss in a short period of time. At one time, even Beerus, the god of destruction, was bribed by her with delicious food. She almost indirectly raised Beerus, became a house cat. Now that everyone is ready, let's hurry up and see the Lord God. Bobo's flying carpet can take 2 people up first. There are a total of 5 people here. As Bobo finished speaking, he began to make statistics. It was completely ignored that Son Goku, Raditz, and Lin Chuan could all fly up by themselves and did not need him to bring them. It's okay. Mr. Popo just needs to take Krillin and Grandpa came Sanine with him. Although I am not proficient in Wukong, there is still no problem in taking Gohan to the temple. Brother and Lin Chuan's flying ability, not to mention. Son Goku said. Hearing this, Bobo nodded and said with a smile, That's great. Bobo took Klin and teacher Wu Tian with him, which saved a lot of time. After the two briefly communicated, everyone started to take action. Kame-san and Krillin got on the flying magic carpet, while Son Goku looked at each other with Raditz and Lin Chuan. It was obvious that he was leading the way. In terms of speed, they must be faster if they know the air dance technique. Bobo can control the magic carpet very quickly, but he still needs to take care of Krillin and Kame-Sennin. He came down just to bring Krillin and Turtle Immortal with him. Just when they were about to leave, Bulma, who had been silent and holding back her anger, couldn't help shouting, What? Are you going to abandon me here like this? I'm going to do it anyway. After you were sent here, why didn't you take me up with you? Anger is inevitable. Holding it in the palm of your hand when you need it and putting it aside when you don't need it is unbearable for everyone. Bulma's temper is considered to be good, at least as shown in the original work. She scolds her and doesn't really hold a grudge in her heart. Sorry, but I have to take Gohan with me, and I can't bring you with me. Bobo's magic carpet can only carry 2 people. Son Goku was embarrassed and felt guilty, but there is nothing to do. I wouldn't even think about coming down to pick her up. But Krillin and Kame-Sennin thought of it and took the initiative to say, Otherwise, Mr. Popo will take Bulma and teacher Wootien up first, and I will wait here. Upon hearing this, Bobo refused directly. Master Tianshin said to bring everyone up, but he did not mention this woman. So Bobo needs to go up and ask Master Tianshin for instructions. God directly excluded Bulma. I have to say that even Lin Chuan couldn't stand it. Think about the God Piccolo in the original work. He was indeed very self-righteous at the beginning and also had a sense of scheming. Not taking Bulma seriously? Just ignore it? Good guy. If you look down on others now, they will make you unable to reach them in the future. So, that old man from the God has no intention of letting me go up to the God's temple at all? Humph. Okay. If he doesn't let me go up, I will go on my own in the future. I will build advanced jets when I get back. Isn't it the God's God? A temple. I can even build a universe ship. Bulma was so angry that she didn't care about anything else. What she said made everyone present at a loss. Lin Chuan can understand Bulma. Raditz on the side was directly shocked by Bulma's last words. Build a universe ship. If it is possible, with the universe ship, he can leave the Earth and no longer be restrained. After spending so many years in the universe, does Raditz have a low IQ? If it was really low, he would have died long ago. Raditz is also ensuring the safety of his own life. If his strength cannot be improved within a year, then he can also use the universe ship to escape from the Earth. At that time, there was no surveillance on him, and he could just find a better planet to survive. At least it would be better than on Earth. If you want to go, let me carry you up. Suddenly, Lin Chuan spoke. This voice sounded, and everyone was startled. Bulma even looked at Lin Chuan in disbelief. With a smiling expression, Lin Chuan stood there and looked at Bulma. A hidden light flashed in the eyes of Klin and Kame-Sento, and Raditz looked at Lin Chuan in surprise. It was unbelievable that Lin Chuan would be interested in an Earthwoman. Son Goku seemed to have been relieved, and he cast a very good look. Bobo couldn't say anything. One was that he didn't belong to the Earth, and he couldn't be restrained because of him. The other was that he was brought here, and it had nothing to do with him. No one spoke. After Bulma looked around, she made a decision in her heart. There was an impulse lingering in her mind. Friends who have known each other for so many years and have experienced so much together are not as concerned about what they think as a scion who has just arrived on Earth. Even though she was not allowed to go, she still insisted on going to take a look. I finally understand now that you are all afraid of others, but they are not as bad as you think. I don't think they are scary at all, but you people treat them differently. Bulma said quickly. Bu Xiao ran to Lin Chuan. This boldness has long gone away from the nervous fear of the unknown science at the beginning. It seemed that Lin Chuan's kindness and handsome appearance were enough to attract and impress her. No one would know at this time that Bulma was actually pure in her heart. As smart as she is, she has already considered that Lin Chuan is not only powerful, but also capable of resisting future intruders. So she would not miss such a good opportunity to get close to someone. Besides, he is so handsome, with a well-proportioned figure, tall but not burly, strong but not looking like a muscular man. Even if he hugged her and took advantage of her, she would not suffer. Overall, Bulma is actually a bit of a nymphomaniac. When she compared the men she knew with them, she immediately discovered that no one seemed to be able to compare with Lin Chuan. Then I'll trouble you, Lin Chuan, if Bulma... Before Son Goku could finish his words, he met Bulma's murderous eyes, which directly strangled what he had not finished speaking. Cold sweat broke out on Son Goku's head. He immediately said nothing and changed the subject directly. Now that everyone is ready, let's go. Let me lead the way. With that said, Son Goku directly picked up Sun Wuhan, comforted him with a few words, then levitated him and flew straight into the sky. It is true that he is not skilled in the performance of Wukong Jutsu, and Son Goku's achievements in this area are really not considered average at this time. Tisich, haven't you mastered even the most basic flying skills? Kakarot is such a loser. Raditz complained for a while, jumped down, and followed Son Goku. They took action, and Bobo signaled Klin and Turtle Immortal in the next second, and then controlled the flying magic carpet to follow them. I don't know if it's because the load has reached the standard or something else, but Bobo's rising speed is very slow, even far less than the flying speed of Son Goku's clumsy flying dance. Seeing them all going up, Lin Chuan's lips twitched and he looked at Bulma. Are you ready? After hearing Lin Chuan's question, Bulma's cheeks turned slightly red. She was so bold and informal as she said before, but now she is still shy when she really wants to be picked up. After all, men and women are different, and they are not familiar with each other. Hearing her soften, Lin Chuan reached out and picked up the princess. The first thing he felt when he put his hands on the soft jade body was a wonderful touch. This unprecedented feeling made Lin Chuan tremble in his heart. In this life, Lin Chuan had never met a woman like Bulma until today. Even if I saw pigs running around and ate pork in my previous life, the most they could do was hold hands and put their arms around shoulders. Now that Bulma is being held in his arms, she wouldn't know it if she didn't hold her. But once she holds her, she realizes that this woman's figure is so plump. Not to mention her devilish figure. Her whole body also exudes an extremely alluring fragrance, which really makes people linger after one smell. It's really unimaginable. Why doesn't that guy Yamcha cherish Bulma, a top-notch woman, when he's guarding her? If it were him, he would have to hold it in his hands and protect it for the rest of his life, fearing that someone else would take it away. Lin Chuan was dull. Bulma is in the same situation. She never thought that Lin Chuan would pick her up so decisively. She was now a little top-heavy, and a special feeling swept over her heart for a moment, making her confused. The masculine breath hit her face, the strong masculine breath, and the hot body contact surface, which made her feel as if she had a fever. Lin Chuan was stunned for more than 10 seconds. Fortunately, thanks to the reminder from Bra and the others, Lin Chuan finally came back to his senses. For the first time, Bulma's eyes met again, and Bulma's face turned even redder. Lin Chuan smiled slightly awkwardly, apologizing for being distracted. Remember not to move. I will rush up in one breath and take you to the Temple of Heaven first. After the words fell, Lin Chuan slowly stood up. After the Wukong technique was cast, for just a few seconds, from the ground, there were no traces of Lin Chuan and Bulma. It takes less than tens of seconds. Above the Temple of Heaven, a shadow rushed up from the bottom of the Temple of Heaven and finally landed steadily in the center of the platform of the Temple of Heaven. It was none other than Lin Chuan who came here holding Bulma in his arms. The speed was so fast that it directly surpassed everyone. Even this was just Lin Chuan's casual burst of speed. The broad and majestic Temple of Heaven is filled with a sacred and majestic atmosphere. Invisibly, it brings an extremely strong pressure to people. Of course, if you are strong enough, you can ignore this kind of oppression. It looks just like what I remember. I have to say that this place where the gods live is like a bowl that has been enlarged countless times and is fixed in the sky. It's full of things. Bad taste setting? Looking around, The surrounding environment gradually matched the memory in his mind, and Lin Chuan was filled with emotion in his heart. Feeling the breath and looking forward, Lin Chuan first saw a man standing there motionless. The other party was also there looking at him. It was a big fat guy with an afro haircut, who is Akalobi, who is not known as the meat-suited Yasuo. Just like in the original work, he was forcefully summoned by the god Piccolo to practice. When their eyes met, Lin Chuan smiled slightly, but he didn't take him seriously and looked behind him. The god Piccolo is inside the temple. Lin Chuan's attention was all on the god. At this time, he didn't realize that he had to put Bulma down. At this time, Bulma's consciousness was still flying rapidly, making it impossible for her to recover. Now that I came back to my senses and saw the heavenly temple for the first time, I didn't realize that I was still being held. I sighed directly in my heart. Is this the heavenly temple? It feels completely different from what I imagined. Bulma, who was in Lin Chuan's arms, looked at the surrounding environment with curiosity and disbelief on her face. She actually wanted to study the existence of the heavenly temple many years ago, but she never had the chance. This time, she got her wish. Thinking of this, Bulma moved her body, and the next second, she felt Lin Chuan's tightened palm again, and her mind was confused. Wait, she is still in Lin Chuan's arms? Bulma suddenly came back to her senses, raised her eyes suddenly, and met Lin Chuan's eyes again. You. Put me down quickly. Bulma blushed, even a little at a loss. She covered her face with her hands, fearing that her embarrassment would be seen. Sample. Recalling the previous flight, she hugged Lin Chuan for protection because she was too fast. And this was also brought up by Lin Chuan and said, when I was flying just now, I don't know who was holding me tightly and yelling at me not to let go. The teasing intention was so obvious that Bulma blushed even more. Seeing this, Lin Chuan didn't intend to tease her anymore, so he reluctantly put her down. There is ample time. If you do it too much, it will be bad. After getting out of Lin Chuan's arms, Bulma stood aside and breathed a few sighs of relief, then glanced at Lin Chuan with her big watery eyes. The meaning is obvious. I was so nervous and scared before. Wasn't it because Lin Chuan was too fast? In response, Lin Chuan smiled even brighter. I have to say, Bulma is actually quite cute. At the same time, at the door of Tianshan Temple, at this moment, Akilabe was sweating all over and felt very guilty. Is he that scion? He really has a terrifying aura. Even from such a distance, I can feel the danger from him, as if he could eat me alive. Yachirobe's instinct made him fear Lin Chuan. At this moment, he felt strange. Wasn't that woman Bulma afraid of others? Yachiluobe was frightened by the aura emanating from Lin Chuan's surface. He didn't dare to act rashly. Even though he saw Bulma and Lin Chuan standing together, he didn't dare to get close. At this moment, as if they noticed Lin Chuan and Bulma arriving first, a figure slowly walked out from the depths of the Temple of Heaven. There is no doubt that he is the god Piccolo. Because of his appearance, Akalobi took action and stood beside the god, as if seeking refuge and acting as a bodyguard. Lin Chuan and Bulma, who were in the center of the wide platform square, both cast their eyes. As a time traveler, how could Lin Chuan not recognize him? Bulma had met him at the world's #1 martial arts tournament a few years ago, so he wouldn't be frightened either. Not only that, her favorability towards the god Piccolo is now 0. Back then, because she was a god, she believed in her as a god. However, this time, the god ignored her existence, and her anger would not dissipate easily. Walking forward, the god stood in the huge square, and took the initiative to introduce himself. Welcome to you, scions from the alien planet. I am the god of this earth. After the words fell, God Piccolo looked at Lin Chuan, intending to use his own eyesight to judge how powerful this scion is. He looked at Lin Chuan like this, and Lin Chuan looked him up and down with a smile on his face. For Lin Chuan, he completely ignored the exploration of the god Piccolo. As for the god Piccolo, Lin Chuan's aggressive eyes seemed to treat him as a prey, which made him very uncomfortable. As the god of the earth, he has always been the supreme being. As a result, now, he has become an ant in the eyes of others. If the other party is weak, he will definitely punish him in his own way, because this is blasphemy to his god. But he knew how terrifying Lin Chuan's strength was, which he couldn't resist. With the advancement of the times, from a few years ago to now, he, a god, has been unable to dominate the overall situation. The most he can do is rely on his years of strategizing to see if he can change the situation. It's truly remarkable that a Namekian became a god on Earth. Unfortunately, as I said, both you and the previous Piccolo are too weak. If you were one, your strength might exceed 10,000 points or even higher, Lin Chuan said, and did not wait for the god Piccolo to answer for a second. Under the Temple of Heaven, suddenly another polar shadow rushed straight up and then landed steadily on the Temple of Heaven. The person who came was undoubtedly Raditz. Lin Chuan rushed up directly. He couldn't bear the tortoise-like speed and caught up with him angrily. Tisich, this is the so-called Celestial Temple, where the gods live. For a Namekian to become the god of the earth is really laughable. Sure enough, the earth has always been an inferior planet, and a Namekian is enough to be called a god. Raditz looked at the surrounding environment and muttered words without giving the god Piccolo any dignity. In response to this, God Piccolo dared not speak out in anger, so he could only calm down and hide his unhappiness in his heart. For him, he only just knew that he was a Namekian. Now that they are so powerful, he can only swallow his anger. The god Piccolo is a very smart being. Although his strength is not good, he is very foresight. He has already planned everything, and now he is just waiting for Son Goku and others to arrive to implement it. For the sake of the Earth, he decided to make the greatest sacrifice, even if he lost face. For the sake of the Earth, he even decided to risk everything, leaving behind and influencing Raditz and Lin Chuan, who were instigated to rebel. In this way, at least the short-term safety of the Earth can be relieved. Not long after, Son Goku rushed to the Temple of Heaven with Sun Wuhan in his arms. Afterwards, Bobo, who controlled the flying magic carpet, arrived with Krillin and came Sinin. We are finally here, Goku, as well as the bald Krillin and teacher Wu Tian. Finally seeing someone he could rely on, a Kolobii approached him. He was scared by Lin Chuan before, and then he was shocked by Raditz's bloodthirsty and cold expression, so he didn't even dare to speak. We haven't seen each other for a while, Akolobii. Have you been summoned by Lord Celestial God? Son Goku said to Akolobii with a smile on his face. Klin scolded loudly from the side. Don't you have any manners? Although I am bald, please call me by my name when you address me. Okay, Klin. Akarobe probably didn't mean it. Also, God is here. Let's calm down first. Turtle Immortal hurriedly reminded Klin to pay attention to his emotions. Don't get too excited. As martial arts masters, although this is not the first time they have seen the gods, now that they have come to the temple and the gods are in front of them, they should maintain the most basic respect. I'm too lazy to get angry with him, Klin answered angrily. It should be said that everyone has their own bottom line, and once it is touched, there will definitely be emotional fluctuations. I didn't mean to do it. I'm really a stingy guy. Yakiluobe thought so much. He was habitually lazy, so he always spoke in a nonchalant way. This is also in line with his character. He is a Ronin in the jungle. You can even say that he is a savage. To put it bluntly, Akalobe is able to stand here today entirely because of his relationship with Son Goku. With Son Goku, he had the opportunity to come into contact with Kalinta. As a result, I have been dependent on Kalinta for the rest of my life. The reason why the fairy beans in the original work have no production and inventory is all thanks to him. Let's put aside the matters between Klin and Akalobe for the time being. Son Goku took his son and walked up to the god Piccolo and said, "Let me introduce you first. This is my son Gohan. Gohan, this is the god Dad told you before of." The timid Sun Wuhan, under the leadership of Son Goku, is no longer as timid as he was at the beginning. I don't know if he was born with the Namekians. After seeing the god Piccolo, he said directly, "My name is Sun Wuhan. I am 4 years old this year. Hello, Grandpa God." A simple greeting made the god Piccolo happy. However, now is not the time to coax the child. He smiled, nodded, and said, "Okay, I haven't seen you for a few years, but you also have a son. I can see that your son has extraordinary potential and his future achievements are limitless. Hee, let me borrow the good words from Lord Tenjin. By the way, we are all here now. We can tell you what arrangements Lord God has. Son Goku said with a smile. After the words fell, God Piccolo also seized this opportunity. After taking a deep breath, he gathered his emotions and spoke.